Never mind conservatism. And never mind what leftism brings to the table. Their hatred has no limits, and their forgiveness has no home. I came up with that line. Isn't that, can we put on the Prager wave? Oh no, Dennis is not here. Alan's not here. I don't have that luxury. But it will give me great joy when Donald J. Trump wins re-election. I put the J in there to make it more official, right? You don't hear the J that much. Because the American people are getting it. They're judging the president by what he has done and by what he has promised to do, and how, unlike those phonies, some of whom I mentioned, he has kept his word. One of the most trying of circumstances, right? We don't have to go through that. The resistance started before he was president, and the swamp has tried to defeat him at every turn. He loves America. That should seem obvious to most people out there, but the people can see it. The people who in the middle America, and they not only see it, they feel it. And with the rioting and violence, it has become obvious to the American people that their safety is on the ballot this November. That's what's also on the ballot. They're starting to realize, some of the Democrats, that Black Lives Matter is not really about Black lives. Actually, I wouldn't say the Democrats are realizing this. Maybe some independents, certainly the Republican base, that's what we're hoping for. That Black Lives Matter is not really about Black lives. Or they would have cared about Black lives being lost in Chicago in unbelievable numbers. And in other major cities, all run by Democrats or leftists, which has become the same thing. I've said that for years. Democrats, leftists, it's becoming more and more the same thing. Let's see, Sean, this might be another one that we put on my website, not Dennis's. But they really don't care about those lives or any other lives, but leftist lives and lies. See, leftist lies and lies, that kind of goes together. They want to destroy America as it is, but we'll do more of that probably in the second hour. For this hour, I want to focus on President Trump and his winning in November. I don't trust most of the polls, except maybe Rasmussen, who almost had it right last time. I think they had him down by 2. I have the numbers. We'll do that maybe the third hour. And they're going to be pretty close this time. And they showed the race really close. And I think it's just the beginning of a trend towards President Trump. I think if you look at his numbers compared to Hillary at this time, Hillary was beating him by much wider margin. Tellingly, by the way, listen to this one. Rasmussen and other polls show President Trump getting a much larger share of the Black vote than before. I think that's going to be key. And rising by not as much of the Hispanic vote. By the way, do Hispanic lives matter? Do Asian lives matter? This one I know. Forget about white lives. We know they don't matter. But if President Trump, this is the number I would look at, gets 16% of the Black vote, never mind 20% of the Black vote or more, which some polls are showing, it's over. It's over. There's nothing to discuss. And because that's the biggest base that the Democrats count on, especially in some of those swing states like North Carolina. And the Democrats know this. And they see their internal polls, which that's why Joe Biden is leaving his basement. I don't know, Sean, is that a nice basement? Like a basement apartment in California, that'd go for $2,000 a month, right? Easily. I don't even mean if it's big. I'm just saying a basement anything, right? San Francisco, $3,000, although maybe not anymore. San Francisco prices are going down. I've never been a fan of riding out the clock and just playing defense, if you know that from football. And the Democrats thought they could ride out the clock to victory. And blame President Trump for everything, from COVID to the riots, and then hold on tight. But it hasn't worked. And I think it is too late for them. I also posted that when they picked Kamala Harris, is it Kamala or Kamala? If you don't like her, it's Kamala. I think she did that to make it fancy, Kamala, right? Kamala, I know, but that's just her trying to show how terrific she is. But I think normally you would pronounce it Kamala, and I think Tucker Carlson did that and got in trouble for that. Okay, I'm doing it. Okay, Kamala. Okay, is that better? Like a comma in the sentence? My students don't even know commas. Comma in a sentence. Kamala. Okay, I'll try it. Now it's going to throw me off. Semicolon or something like that. I thought it was over when they picked Kamala. Now I can't say it. Besides me, I asked listeners on a previous Prager show who was their most disliked Democrat, in the primaries. And Miss Harris, there we go, often won that title. She's not a likable person. And even her mentor in many ways, see, I just said that nicely, Willie Brown, mentor in many ways, former Assembly Sean, why are you smiling? Why are you laughing? I just said her mentor in many ways. Former Assembly Speaker of California told the Democrats not to select her. He knew something, huh? I think some 30-odd% of blacks said the selection of Miss Harris would make them less likely to vote for the ticket. And I think that choice will go down as one of the worst vice presidential selections in history. And there are other polls that show many Americans not wanting to tell pollsters their real choice. And who do you think these voters are? They don't have to be worried if they're Biden voters. Here in California, you dare not put up a Trump sign on your house. Forget that. A Trump bumper sticker on your car. You've finished your car. Or even American flag. I think that's gotten bad these days. A red hat. You can't wear a red hat. That's, you know what? I don't know if I have a red hat, but I wouldn't wear it now. It'd be dangerous. Let me know what you think. 1-8 Prager 776. Mark Eisler filling in for Dennis Prager.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. The recent unveiling of the Republican agenda for a second term gave much encouragement to many who need it. Defeat COVID, create jobs, disentangle from China, provide school choice, teach American exceptionalism unapologetically, defend the police as an institution, oppose human trafficking. These and other measures offer sanity, flourishing, and hope to an embattled country. No agenda can cover every issue. Two outstanding issues need platforming, however: religious liberty and abortion. The Trump administration has taken stands on both of these momentous matters and to good effect. In days ahead, though, supporters of religious liberty and the unerasable humanity of the unborn need more support, not less. Religious liberty, after all, is for this gloriously free society the first freedom. Among other righteous ends, it enables a diverse coalition of many voices to speak on behalf of the unborn, until the murderous abomination of abortion is a distant memory. I'm Owen Strand.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Super personal for me. I mean, you know, my dad was a cop. He spent almost 20 years on the force, and on literally on his last day at the job, in 20 years, my dad never pulled his gun out of his holster. 20 years on the job, his last day on patrol, pulls a guy over in a car, walks up to the guy pulls out a gun, puts it in his face, pulls the trigger. The gun just did not go off. It misfired. The guy had a murder felony warrant out for his arrest. So there, but for the grace of God, go out. Look, here's one of the big problems.
And he was all right. He got arrested.
Oh, yeah. My dad, yeah. You know, arrested the guy. Dad came home, never bothered to mention it. You know, it's like, I think it was 20 years later. He goes, yeah.
Last day on the job.
That time that guy almost shot me. So, well, you know, my dad was a Korean War vet. He spent 18 months in combat. He was like, better people than you have tried to shoot me, brother. But wow. This is one of the big challenges here that she really took on, because this of course got no attention, no press, no media,
no demonstrations.
And this is what the media is doing. They are normalizing violence, right? They are excusing this activity as either, well, this isn't really part of what we're doing, it's justified. And normalizing violence means that violence is normal. And so
and can be used as a tool.
And they're enabling these children and convincing them that what they are doing is just and correct.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
But prison reform did get through. How often does that come up on the campaign trail? Because it sure was front and center in the Republican convention this week, Senator Collins.
It was. Occasionally the First Step Act and the criminal justice bill comes up, but much more often comes up people's absolute outrage at Democratic efforts to starve our police departments of resources that defund the police effort. One of the groups backing my opponent is a big proponent of defunding the police. I spent some time with the Portland Police Department, and they're really feeling unsupported by their city council. It truly is tragic. Here are these brave men and women who put their lives on the line for us each and every day, and no one is condoning bad police behavior. In fact, it upsets their fellow police officers more than anyone.
Like folk, right? A new bumper. I like that. Yeah, that's my style. Speaking of my style, Pure Talk Wireless, AT&T $76 a month, Verizon Wireless $83 a month. That is what the average family of four is saving a month by switching to Pure Talk USA. Same great coverage, but a fraction of the price. Dennis is a Pure Talk customer. Why aren't you? By the way, my family and I have been talking about it, so I think we're going to switch to it. Let me see. Do I get any breaks, Sean? No. I didn't ask Dennis. Not ask Dennis. My name is not a promo code, so I guess that's it. All right, you answer my question. Dial pound 250 and say keyword Dennis Prager for unlimited talk, unlimited text, and 2 gigs of data for just $20 a month. $20 a month. Did they say only 76? I'm paying with a lot of discounts to Verizon. I think I'm paying 150, 160 a month. It's not even close. I think I do want to get on it. Plus, you'll get 50% off your first month. Dial pound 250 and say the keyword Dennis Prager. Pure Talk USA. Simply smarter wireless. And I don't say what I don't mean. So I think I may go into Pure Talk Wireless. Sounds good. And you can reach me 1-8-Prager-776. And let's get having trouble with my mouse. And I got it. Susan in Scranton, Pennsylvania. You're on with Mark.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Susan?
Very good, thank you.
Good. What did you want to talk about?
So I have a Trump 2020 hat that I purchased. Actually, it was on a stand here near the Scranton area. Somebody had a Trump stand out, and I stopped and bought a couple hats, one for my husband and I.
How much?
And it's a really nice navy blue hat.
How much are they?
It was $25.
Okay. I just want to know.
I actually had a pink one, but I went to Florida to see my daughter, and she confiscated it off me, so I had to buy a new one.
Oh, that's a good sign.
I wear that hat around the Scranton area where actually Joe Biden grew up, and I wear it proudly, and I'm not afraid to wear it, and actually it makes me feel very powerful to wear it because I'm interested to see what people will say to me. And I've absolutely gotten more positive comments with that hat on than I have negative.
Yeah, but that's because you don't live in California. You just...
Well, I do live in the Scranton area, and Joe Biden is extremely popular here in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I mean, he is he comes here all the time. He has a family home here, he grew up here.
So what are the negative? You said mostly positive, but what the negative comments? What do they say?
People will give me a thumbs down, or say to me, vote Biden, or but nobody ever try to get physical or anything with me, or knock my hat off or anything like that. But I mean, mostly people will come up and whisper to me, they'll say to me vote Trump, or
But notice you said notice you said they'll whisper to you, right? They don't want to say too loud.
Yeah, it's kind of on the lowdown, but I mean, people are very, I've gotten more positive reaction to the hat than I ever have negative.
Now, you may not know this, but I teach part-time, and if they knew that I was a Trump supporter, that'd be the end of my job. Can you believe that? That's Los Angeles.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah. I know. I'm 61. It's been a long time since I've been in college, but I understand it's just a very, unfortunately, it's a very negative educational environment out there, so.
Yeah,
what are you gonna do? Fight the good fight.
So Sean wants to know: would you call Scranton Biden country or Trump country now?
Well, I travel in 12 counties in Pennsylvania with my job. I'm a marketer, and so I'm out in a lot of the upper counties of Pennsylvania: Tioga, Bradford, Wyoming, Susquehanna. They are definitely pro-Trump. I see a ton of signs out for Trump up in those counties, but they're also where all the gas drillings are and the farmers. And so it just really depends on what county you're driving through in Pennsylvania. I feel like certain ones are extremely pro-Trump, and, you know, around Scranton area here, I do see a lot of Biden signs. Mm-hmm. But I say it's about 50-50.
You know, Pennsylvania, you'll appreciate the story I was going to tell later in our second hour, I think. So I'm teaching the night of the election, and my brother is texting me some of the results. And when he texted me that we won, meaning Trump won Pennsylvania, tears came down my eyes, because it had always been fool's gold, Pennsylvania. We're always going to win it, and we never did. Yeah. You want to hear the end of the story? You'll love it, to prove what it's like in Los Angeles. So I get called into the assistant principal's office at the end of the night, and she says, Mark, we had a number of students complaining about you, that you're on your text a lot, too much. But don't worry about it, because we're also upset by what happened. It's very understandable, because they assume everybody's the same. They had no idea that I was one of the few that was thrilled with what was going on. So she just assumed it. But that's the left. That's California. So it's good to hear your story. Yeah. You've helped me. If anybody else wants to call and tell their reactions, it can't be California, because you can't put a sign up. I see the Biden signs, but we can't.
Well, I wouldn't put one on my car, because I know people do crazy things like key your car and slash your tires. I mean, because you know that could be done underhandedly. But I will wear that Trump hat proudly around here, and no one's going to make me take it off. So I mean, I will stand up for myself. I'm very passionate about it, and come and get me if I wear my Trump hat. I'll take you on.
Well, so you're one of my people. Well, do you wear a mask? Sean wants to know. Sean runs the show. I just do what he tells me to. Do you wear a mask?
Do I wear a mask?
Yeah.
Well, I am I am a nurse, so I mean, I'm out in people's homes, and I'm seeing clients, so I have to, out of respect for my profession, yes, I do wear a mask. Because I would not want to ever do anything to hurt, one of my clients.
Thanks for being our first caller. You started very well. Thank you very much. And let's go now to Bob in Diamond City, Arizona. Bob, you're on with Mark.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I think I heard your radio in the background. So, I said Arizona, but is that Arkansas?
Yeah, it's Arkansas.
I apologize. I said
it's closer to Branson, Missouri than anything.
Oh.
So people know where Branson is. I'm 20 minutes outside of it. I'm right on the state line.
Yeah, I remember. Didn't they have a big concert there every year or something? Right, Branson?
Yeah, Branson. Well, Branson's got like the Dolly Parton.
Yeah, those
used
type
to be
of
Dixie Stampede. Now it's a band. They made her take the Dixie out of it. So.
Okay, go on with what you said. We don't have that much time. Go ahead.
Okay. So I just wanted to say, I think the Democrats have really been telling it. If we listen, they tell us who they are. I mean, now we got the Pelosi thing, going in and getting her hair done. Mm-hmm. But I was listening to the DNC. I heard Obama say that Biden's always respectful, but yet he calls his voters, his audience, horse-faced pony soldiers, dog-faced pony soldiers. He went and toured an auto plant, got in an argument with the guy, trying to ask him just a simple question, actually offered to take him outside.
Yeah, right.
And then,
well, he didn't know where the outside was, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and then during the DNC, Hillary talks about diversity, but they systematically eliminated all their female candidates, the openly gay candidate.
We got it. We got to go. Yeah, that's who they really are, even though they try to hide it. 1-8 Prager 776 Mark Eisler for Dennis Prager.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Here's the reporter. Again, I'm not trying to laugh in a ha-ha way. This actually happened. And picture this report with a graphic that says, fiery but mostly peaceful protests. Here it is.
What you're seeing behind me is one of multiple locations that have been burning in Kenosha, Wisconsin over the course of the night, a second night since Jacob Blake was seen shot in the back 7 times by a police officer. And what you are seeing now, these images came and come in stark contrast to what we saw over the course of the daytime hours in Kenosha and into the early evening, which were largely peaceful demonstrations in the face of law enforcement. It wasn't until night fell that things began to get a little bit more contentious. Things were thrown back and forth. Police started using some of those crowd dispersal tactics like tear gas, even playing very loud sounds to push them out. And then what you are seeing, the common theme that ties all of this together, is an expression of anger and frustration over what people feel like has become an all too familiar story playing out in places from across the country, not just here in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Got it. Expression of frustration and anger in the fiery but mostly peaceful protest. And if you're watching now on the stream at MikeOnline.com, you see the guy standing there with all the burning buildings behind him. Somebody at CNN in a position of authority said, you know what graphic we'll put up here? We'll put up a graphic because we can't let people know that they're rioting and that they're tearing down and destroying our city. That doesn't play well.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Now, isn't it interesting? I was talking to somebody about this the other day, that, you know, all these people that go on about how great the women leaders are of this world. You know, that woman down in New Zealand, you know, the woman running Germany and ruining Europe, Angela Merkel. You know, it's all right, apparently, to call them women when you're being kind about them. But it's not okay to call them women if you want to actually discuss whether or not, you know, they can be of any particular gender. And President Trump, right, he suggested that it might be necessary to put off the election because of the COVID virus, right? She actually does put off the election. He gets called a fascist. She gets called a hero. Go figure.
Mike, how about this? How about if my boss, President Trump, says that he feels like a woman? Does that mean he's the first female president? Because by lefty logic, logic, he is.
Yeah, absolutely right. Of course, he can self-identify as that if he so wishes. You know, good luck to him.
I just want. I'm going to get wax philosophical for 1 second. If gender, Mike, just bear with me. If gender is a social construct, why do you need to have transgenderism?
Well, that's a very good question.
Why do you need to have operations if it's a social construct? Can you tell I studied philosophy?
I can tell that, and it's coming in very handy in this day and age, because it really is quite remarkable. I mean, you know, we have a situation now here where all logic has gone out the window from the establishment, right? You've got the BBC, who've decided that Land of Hope and Glory, which was written...
You're a mind reader. Okay, explain to us what happened at this amazing thing called the Proms. You've got these 2 songs. Explain to us what the BBC tried to do to the British heritage.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
If ever there were...
Mark Eisler sitting in for Dennis Prager, and I don't want to say her name again because Sean has ruined it for me. He said Kamala like communist or communist. No, I now I can't say the name. You made a big deal about it. We're taking your calls at 1-8-Prager-776. It looks like I started something. Linda in San Diego, California. Go, you're on with Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Hi.
How are you?
Real well.
You were talking about stickers on cars.
Uh-huh.
And I just wanted to let you know that I proudly have a Trump magnet on the back of my car. And I also have a flag on the back of my car sticker that used to have green stripe, red stripe, blue stripe. And the red and the green has faded, so now I have a blue Lives Matter flag on my car. And I've not had any hassles from that. And everybody I know knows exactly where I stand.
Well, yeah, but that's not the problem. You have it on your car. And like the other lady said, someone could, and you live in California, San Diego, but still, they could just key your car. You're not worried about that?
Well, I thought when I first put it on, I thought, because I don't have social media, and my idea was I'm going to go sit in a parking lot when I go to the grocery store, and I'm going to go sit somewhere else and wait for somebody to key my car so I could go up and tape them and tell them that I'm going to post the video all over every social media platform there is to show people that it's not the people on the right that are doing all this stuff, it's the people on the left that are creating havoc. And I've also been canceled by my child friends because I took Krispy Kreme donuts to the Oceanside Police Department on the anniversary of Krispy Kreme's birthday. And apparently his friends said that I do not understand the movement. And I said to him, I fully understand the movement.
You mean
that his friends need to get it together?
Well, you know, you hit the stereotype, donuts to cops. You know, you're not. No, that's always been said.
I'm totally pro cop, pro military,
So am I.
pro fire department.
Yeah.
And my son, I think, is on the same side, but he has a lot of friends that aren't. And he's a high school kid, and it's hard for him because he knows what the truth is, but he doesn't want to lose his friend.
Didn't you say though he lost one friend or something?
No, his friends canceled me.
Oh, canceled you.
And I told him, I said, I don't care if I'm canceled. I really could care less. People can think of me what they want.
I was way ahead of the game. I was canceled by one of my kids' parents many years ago because I had the nerve to mention illegal immigration. And her husband was from Mexico, and I teach 100% Mexicans. I mean, Hispanics. They may be from El Salvador, wherever,
right.
And they love me. They adore me. But you can't,
exactly.
Now you got to be so careful what you say, right? Everything is going to come back against you.
Exactly.
Good for you, Linda.
Well, I think Trump's going to win. I think he's going to win by a landslide.
I don't know about popular vote.
And I think the debates are going to be a joke because Joe's not going to have his teleprompter or anything like that.
Since you brought it up, let me make this point and you can react to it, okay? I think the president has made a mistake by announcing what he thinks about Biden in terms of his acuity and so on, his mental abilities, because Biden doesn't have to do much. He could have a good night at the debate. Not likely, but he could. Forget good. Just passable. Not do anything, say anything outrageous. And I think the media, of course, will make it. He's terrific. What have you been saying? I think the best way in life is not to talk about something like that. Let the people see it. Let them figure it out. Do you agree with me? I think the president's making a mistake on that one.
I do agree with you on that. And I wish that he would. Sometimes I wish he would keep his tweets and comments more civil.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand the flip side where he's been attacked. Since before he got elected. And I don't know any person that I know personally that could take being attacked like that and still be a nice.
You and I agree because the other side of that is if he didn't tweet, he'd have no outlet, right? And the way they've attacked him, you're right. I could have never taken it and just go on being president and not let it just wipe me out. You hope I would be okay, but I don't know. They don't stop.
Exactly. Well, people should look at his accomplishments. That's what I tell my family who's Democrat. I have Democratic children. You look at his accomplishments and see what he's actually done. I don't look at the personality. I don't look at the person themselves. I look at the job that they're doing. Did you say
you have a Democrat family, including your husband?
Oh no, not my husband.
Oh, good.
No.
Good. I'm glad for that.
Some of my children are on the left. Yeah,
got it.
Definitely on the left.
Makes sense. Here's what I'm going to leave you with. The next time I fill in for Dennis, I don't want you calling me up and saying, Mark, you're right, my car got keyed.
I won't. I'm not worried about my car.
Okay, good. That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, tell me what you think about that, too. I think that's another question. Do you think Biden will be in the debates? Remember, Pelosi says he shouldn't even go, makes up some excuse. She must have made that excuse up while she was at the beauty parlor, right? Let me know what you think. 1-8-Prager-776. Mark Eisler for Dennis Prager.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
If ever there were pressure on the voters to pay attention, because we don't have the sources that we once did. If you turn on CNN, you're really getting something so dramatically slanted. It's actually shocking. I mean, it happened when this president got elected pretty much. Something shifted so dramatically, and we're having to fight just to know what's happening, what's not happening, because they're straight up not covering some things, as you just mentioned. It's a scandal, and it's a real inflection point in the republic.
I think they figured out how to monetize, how to conflate the news with advocacy and how to monetize it. And I do go on CNN's website from time to time, and I'm just stunned. Not just, the news, Eric, is not just how you cover things; it's what you decide to cover. I mean, that's a lot of power. I get to decide what is news, and then I get to decide how to kind of portray it. You go on the CNN website, and or even worse, the Washington Post or the New York Times. I mean, I was watching. I watched Tim Scott and Nikki Haley last night. I didn't watch anything other than those two. But if you flip on the New York Times, they are essentially extensions of the Democrat Party. So Republicans have a choice. We can go get our own newspaper, but the citizenry loses because their question is, okay, where do I go just to find the straight news, the straight facts? I mean, how would you answer that question if a young person came up to you and said, Eric, where do I go to just find the facts?
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
All of the blue check, blue bubble Twitter people were wringing their hands over the fact the president pardoned a completely rehabilitated felon, brought him back into society, and that he made 5 new Americans, and they were outraged he was doing it at the White House. They apparently forgot President Obama filling out his ESPN brackets annually at the White House. I mean, honestly, they are out of arguments.
Well, I think that they're concerned that the president's record is being exposed, that he got criminal justice reform done, that he got long-term funding for HBCUs done, that he got an economy going that had minorities and women employed at the highest numbers in virtually the history of this country. And they're afraid that people are paying attention and actually understanding what has been done since President Trump got into office. They're terrified of that. They're also terrified of us pointing to the fact that our cities are being destroyed, our communities are less safe, and the Democrats are turning a blind eye towards it. And I would, if I were them, I'd be worried too, because this is when the American people start paying attention to an election. And if they know they have a president that's lowered taxes and focused on the conditions of minorities far more than Joseph Biden ever has over the last 47 years, that's going to have a consequence for the Democrats on Election Day, and they know it.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Don't tell anybody I told you this. Especially don't tell Joe Biden. I don't think that there should be any debates. I do not think that the President of the United States has comported himself in a way that anybody should, and has any association with truth, evidence.
Mark Eisler for Dennis Prager. Great calls. I'll hang on. I mean, even if you don't get on this hour, we're going to continue. I'm caller driven. I'd love to give you a chance. And so let's go to Chuck in Portland, Oregon. Hi, Chuck.
Hey, how you doing today? I'm so glad you let me on. I really wanted the country to know about a new form of or new angle of voter intimidation or against voters and businesses that's going on in Oregon right now. You want to hear it?
I do.
So my wife got a call about an hour ago. I'm sorry, a text about an hour ago. And in the text said, do you support women for Joe Biden for president? My wife, thinking it was just an automatic thing, texted back saying, no, please don't use this number again. She immediately got a text that started indicating that this is from a person. And the text went as follows: "Wonderful. I am sure your clientele, who are mostly leftists, will appreciate knowing you support Trump for president." Now, my wife has a business, and this is a business phone number that they texted. And so, obviously, they were not happy. She wasn't going to support the leftists. At that time, she texted back saying, "I didn't say that. Please don't text me again." And they sent another text back saying, "We don't care what you say. Black Lives Matter."
Wow.
So obviously an attempt by the left side now trying to use these kind of intimidation tactics to get monetary value out of businesses or support from business owners in the Portland, Oregon metro area.
I have a different question for you. That's sad enough, depressing enough. How do you survive in Portland?
You don't. I live on the outskirts of Portland, and I would say probably more of us conservative folks live on the outskirts of Portland in the different areas. But we're not going to Portland, and the way we feel about it, people with conservative traditional values, they love this country, and we would go into that city in a minute to try and stop what's going on with business owners and people that are trying to have a life. But the deal is, the Portlanders themselves have voted in that left-wing mayor and voted in a left-wing bureaucracy that is not going to take care of them and not support them in their daily lives. They need to wake up and understand that if they vote in socialists, this is what they get for protection against constitutional values and everything else.
Well said, and thanks for hanging in there. I don't even know if I'd live in the outskirts of Portland. Doesn't sound very good to me. Let's go to Richard in Orlando, Florida. Richard, you're on with Mark.
Hey, how you doing today?
Real well.
All right. I appreciate you taking my call. Take care, man. First time call. I've been trying to reach the Prager show for years. Real quick.
Well, welcome.
I live in Orlando. It's nice talking to you guys. And I have, since day one, I've been a Trump supporter. When he first announced that he was going to run. So I had Trump bumper sticker, Trump hat, Trump lanyard, Trump keychain. I have a bunch of Trump things. I wear it all the time. Only twice in Orlando in 3.5 years now, I've been confronted negatively, like real negatively. Once was like 2 weeks ago. And I recently had my bumper sticker ripped off like last week, as well as my Navy bumper sticker. But overall, people, go Trump, or they talk under the breath, but nothing really where I'm threatened, except the one time from a couple weeks ago. But yeah, good experience. The more important thing is what you mentioned earlier. You think Trump's going to win this easily? I don't think so. Especially if they can get away with these mail-in votes. That's their way out. They're going to try to steal an election. They're the dirtiest forms of life walking the planet. They're dirtier than maggots. They will do everything they can to steal this election. And it's going to be close. It's going to be super close. And if they can pull away these mail-in voters, they may steal this one.
Well, if it's super close, we're in trouble. That's where I agree with you. We've got to win this big so their cheating and their fraud won't take place. By the way, you know why no one starts with you? Really?
Say that again?
You know why most people don't mess with you?
Why is that?
Because you're from New York.
Yeah, I figured that. And my buddies tell me that too. I put out an energy. They say. My one scenario, if I have 20 seconds, I'll explain what happened. I was in Orlando. I was doing Uber Eats because I got laid off with this crappy COVID crap. So anyway, I go into this hood and I drop the food off, and this rather big individual comes out, and he's like, he sees my hat, and he's like, "Oh hell no, heck!" Oh, so I don't know if I should say that. No,
you're okay.
Blank Trump, right? And I said, "Why?" He says, "Oh, he's racist." I said, "You know what, man? I was thinking about burning this hat. I played along with him because I heard that, but I got to listen to it." He said that you're not black if you don't vote for me. And he goes, "Yeah, he's racist." I said, "Oh, my bad. That was Joe Biden." So he started getting more mad.
Of course.
He started yelling. He's like, no, that's Trump. So you can teach these people, you can give them facts, but they don't want to listen, and they're brainwashed.
Yeah,
so that's the thing. You can show them facts, you can show them all Trump's accomplishments, and they'll still adamantly deny it.
Yeah, the base. Thanks for your call. Appreciate it very much. Those people you can't argue with. The base it's hopeless. We live on different planets. Look at Biden getting up there saying Trump has lied about this and lied about that, and he's stimulated the riots. He made the riots happen, and he was responsible for COVID. They say whatever they want. They lie all the time. They got it from their leader there, Obama. Just say whatever you feel like, and it doesn't have to be true. And the Kool-Aid drinkers will always drink it. We lose with them. The hope is the other people, the people who are not part of the base, that they'll see these riots, see what Trump has done all these years, and say, you know what, I can get past some of the things I don't like about him, but he's kept his word. The man has some courage. I trust him to take care of this problem, and I don't trust Biden. That's the difference. 1-8-Prager, 776, Mark Eisler for Dennis Prager.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Don't tell anybody I told you this, especially don't tell Joe Biden. I don't think that there should be any debates. I do not think that the President of the United States has comported himself in a way that anybody should, and that has any association with truth, evidence, data, and facts. I wouldn't legitimize a conversation with him, nor a debate in terms of the presidency of the United States.
When are you going to start listening to me, huh? When are you going to listen to Big Daddy? What did I tell you? What did Big Daddy tell you about them afraid to put Biden up on the debate stage? Sharon, you're up. How you doing, Sharon?
How would you like another conspiracy theory?
I'm ready.
Based on what Hillary said about Biden should not concede under any circumstances, my idea is that they're going to contest the outcome of the presidential election in the hopes of putting her in as an interim president until it's resolved. And the only way to fight that is to make sure we take the House.
Well, we got to take the House, and I'm not sure that as Americans, I got to believe, are recoiling at Pelosi's incredibly outrageous suggestion that Biden isn't good enough to, or isn't strong enough, or isn't capable of debating. And that's what she's saying, and she's right. As she pretends like, let's keep this between us, let me keep this between you and me. She's right that Biden wouldn't be able to handle a debate with Donald Trump.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. The recent unveiling of the Republican agenda for a second term gave much encouragement to many who need it. Defeat COVID, create jobs, disentangle from China, provide school choice, teach American exceptionalism unapologetically, defend the police as an institution, oppose human trafficking. These and other measures offer sanity, flourishing, and hope to an embattled country. No agenda can cover every issue. Two outstanding issues need platforming, however: religious liberty and abortion. The Trump administration has taken stands on both of these momentous matters, and to good effect. In days ahead, though, supporters of religious liberty and the unerasable humanity of the unborn need more support, not less. Religious liberty, after all, is for this gloriously free society the first freedom. Among other righteous ends, it enables a diverse coalition of many voices to speak on behalf of the unborn, until the murderous abomination of abortion is a distant memory. I'm Owen Strand.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Mark Eisler for Dennis Prager. So you're playing the Beach Boys, California, because you're so excited that we have a lot of callers who are not being keyed, and they say they're wearing Trump hats and they live in California. I can't believe it. Let me see if I can grab another one. Talking about other stuff. By the way, stay on. After the break, we'll get you back on. No. Oh, here's a Trump hat. Yeah, in California, Redondo Beach, where I used to teach. Hi, Travis. You're on with Mark.
Mark, good to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you too.
Okay, California born and raised, and I know we need to take it back. Yeah, I wear the Trump hat pretty much a lot of times, and I have a face mask that says Republican on it. Wow. And yeah, I get a lot of crap. I'm in Santa Monica, pretty much all over the Bay Area.
And you wear it and you haven't had problems?
Oh, I've had a couple of people. I had one guy offer to knock it off my head, and I told him, go ahead, I'll eat you, you know.
I like that style. Yeah, if you're going to wear the hat, you got to be ready for what you're going to come back with.
But I get a lot more positive. I get a lot more closet Republicans than you would think.
I would think so. Did you hear me say I taught in Redondo Beach? I mean, I don't know. The beach areas are not what I thought it was, but you have. Yeah. Well,
my wife, I won't tell you what she does or where she works, but it is a high school in the LA area.
Oh, great. We're living in the Soviet Union, the old Soviet Union. We're all afraid to say where we teach and where, what levels and what's the name of the high school.
I told my wife, I said, what you need to do, because pretty much everybody at her school knows who I am and what I do. And who I vote for. I don't quite hide it. Last time they had Bernie at our high school at one point, and I put Trump signs there. But we won't go there.
Oh, I admire your courage. No, that's good. But
and my point is real simple. I told her that if we do lose this one, and I don't think we will, but if we do, she needs to disown me, deny me, whatever she's got to do in order to cover herself.
Yeah, well, no, Sean, I'm not going to say that. They'll have to wonder what you said to me. Certain things I just can't say, Sean. I admire you. That's pretty good, Travis. And I don't have to tell you to hang in there. It's your wife that doesn't want to say anything. By the way, I do the same thing. They don't know who I am. I can tell you so many.
You guys can. If you want to keep your job,
that's right.
You've got to keep your mouth shut.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter. This is supposed to be America, but some people seem to have forgotten that.
It's unbelievable. This is America in 2020. We have to be careful what we say. Can you believe that? The land of the free and the home of the brave. We have to keep our opinions to ourselves. Yeah, cancel culture it is. Thanks so much for your call. I appreciate it. Mark Eisler filling in for Dennis Prager.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
And I'm very, very worried about how dramatically and radically left the Democratic Party has done. They're not the party of our parents. They have just thrown in with cultural Marxists. And I find it frightening. And I think America needs to understand what we are facing with that, because cultural Marxists don't believe in God. And they don't believe in the rules that God hands down. And so they just believe in whatever I need to do, power, however I can get power. Do you see something similar? What do you see happening?
I do, but my expectations for the Democrat Party were never that high to begin with. So, I kind of put them in a separate category. My real frustration over the last 4 years has been with the media and the way they cover Republicans versus Democrats, the way they cover issues. Steve Bannon's indictment is front page news, but an FBI employee who pleads guilty is buried. And my real frustration over the last 4 years, we desperately need a Department of Justice and a legal system that, while we may not always like it, we always respect it. And it's been a dreadful 4 years for the FBI and the Department of Justice. And I don't think we're going to make it as a culture if we can't agree that the law matters, that it should be blindfolded and oblivious to your political ideation or your race or your gender. I don't even see that anymore. I see a mitigation of using the levers of the Department of Justice and the FBI to impact an election.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
We got to the policeman, and the policeman I don't think recognized me, and as they came closer, they were shouting my name, and the crowd doubled to 60, and then it doubled again to 120. And as they were surrounding us, and it got closer and closer, and everybody kept pushing back, the policemen were forming a barricade with their bodies. I whispered to the policeman, they know who I am. You've got to get reinforcements. It's going to get worse. He called for reinforcements, but we didn't get any reinforcements. We waited, but the crowd was getting bigger and bigger and pushing in. They were yelling threats. They were trying to push the police over to get to me. They were grabbing at us. And it got worse and worse and worse. And then finally we decided to make a move. I said, we've got to move. If there's not going to be reinforcements, we have to try to get to the hotel, which was another block.
And then Senator Paul said something that was pretty profound about what he and his wife experienced last night outside the White House.
If the police are not there, if you defund the police, if we become Portland, if America becomes Portland, what's going to happen is people are going to be pummeled and kicked in the head and left senseless on the curb. That would have happened to us. I promise you, had we not had the D.C. police to support us, I mean, we are thankful that we have police, and we've got to wake up. We can't have the whole country. We can't have Joe Biden rule the country and have no police. I mean, we can't walk down the street in D.C. safely now.
What amazes me is that these demonstrators and violent people in the streets of America don't even realize how much damage they're doing to their chances of taking the White House. They don't even realize. I truly believe Americans are ready and are going to get this right on November the 3rd. This is what we're up against, and we can win.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Yeah, not shocked at all by the sort of grotesque display that was against the law. More super grossed out and really worried about the people who gathered there, who put their lives at risk to kind of squish together and support the president.
Well, and this is what you said.
Mika Brzezinski. She's super grossed out at the grotesque display she witnessed at the White House last night. I was there. My name's Sebastian Gorka. Let me tell you, Mika, what America is super grossed out about. We're super grossed out by the fact that people leaving that event were abused. White people, black people, elderly people, people who have lost their limbs for this nation, like Congressman Brian Mast, who had his legs amputated above the knee when he was injured in combat, abused and shouted at. Why? Because he's not you, Mika? He's not a Democrat?
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Thus far, are you watching this and just amazed at how quickly the RNC has put together what is a flawless virtual convention?
Well, I didn't know what to expect when I tuned in last night or 2 nights ago when it started. And so far, as I said before, I've been very pleasantly surprised. I think in many ways they've probably learned some lessons about the failure of the DNC. But I think it all gets back to reminding middle America, common sense Americans, maybe even Americans that aren't card-carrying Republicans, about what's been accomplished over the last 4 years, even at a time of intense division, notwithstanding some of the political charades we've seen at the national level. There has been a lot that's gotten done, particularly when it comes to the area that we talk about a lot, Hugh, national security and foreign policy. And then if you contrast that with Biden's over 40-year record of failure on foreign policy, I think there's a powerful message there. And again, if nothing else, I think your average American turns on the TV and sees what's happening in cities like Chicago, the autonomous zone of Seattle, Portland, and says, well, that's not what I want. So I think if we are disciplined over the next few months, if we continue with a positive message, and if we land this plane on a simple message of, hey, we love America, we think this is the greatest country in the history of the world. It's not perfect, but we work together to solve our imperfections. I think that's a winning message going into November.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe.
And those of you, it's 12 years. Someone was surprised here at our station that I've been filling in for Dennis for 12 years. It's been an honor and a privilege. He's a special man. And I've done a lot of other stations and shows, but there's nothing like filling in for Dennis. You can reach me at markisler at AOL.com, MARKISLER at AOL.com, or on Twitter or Facebook. I don't use Twitter much anymore. We kept on the all the callers because the theme the first hour was that President Trump is going to win re-election, and I want you to feel comfortable about that. One of the reasons is, as Biden's had to come out of his basement now, and as people get to know him more and more, it's going to move Trump's way. Even during the primaries, like a dazed fighter, Biden would stop speaking and say, "My time is up." Have you ever seen a politician do that? Say, "My time is up"? He'd look at his watch and say, "Oh, I'm finished. That's it." It just was an indication that he's got to be very careful. I don't take glee in saying this, by the way. It's almost sad to watch him. In fact, pathetic that they let him go through with this. Someone should have had mercy on him, but they had no other candidates they trusted could win, which is why they chose him as a placeholder. But if he starts getting out on the trail, which he's starting to do now, be warned. Which is also why Pelosi said he shouldn't debate Trump. They're setting things up. So I think he has to now. He's got himself boxed in. Not unlike he boxed himself in saying he had to take a black woman to be his vice presidential running mate. So he's got to debate, and if he doesn't debate, that's going to be bad. And of course, Republican enthusiasm is off the charts. It's not the same for Biden. It's mostly anti-Trump. That's their platform. They hate Donald Trump and come join us. But voters know what could happen. They will not trust Biden to lead us through these turbulent times. But as I said previously, I think it's a mistake for Trump in the campaign to make much of his disability. Let people just see that. And if Biden, if he's just adequate in debates, the mainstream media is going to say, oh, he was terrific. So we're going to proceed to win on November 3rd. I'm confident of that. And once again, America will be saved. Thank God. Because this is really a battle, as I'll mention going as we go through. It's not really a battle between Trump and Biden. It's really a battle between what America is and was, hopefully, and stays that way, and the left trying to make it into some socialist or communist country. That's my take, but there are so many callers. 1-8-Prager 776. Let me go to you as fast as I can. Let's go to Craig in Southfield, Michigan. Craig, you're on with Mark.
Hi, Mark. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Oh, great. Yeah, listen, you had a black patriotic American who resented Joe Biden's characterization and definition that if they didn't vote for him, they weren't black, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so what I told the screener is that I think that I can speak for Joe Biden when I say that Joe Biden, regardless of his millions of dollars and all his dirty deals with China and everything, right, and connections to I forget the KKK guy that Clinton followed, mentored, whatever. Right? That he knows more.
The Reverend Wright, I think. Yeah, I think you mean the Reverend Wright, right?
No, Byrd, I think it was. Anyway.
Oh yeah, Robert Byrd. Did you mean Robert Byrd, the senator?
Right, Robert Byrd.
You know what I don't like? That was Sean telling me that. I don't like him being right and me not getting it. But go on.
Okay, well then Sean wins. You get the punishment room.
He doesn't like that. Go ahead. Hey, Sean, now we have the callers giving out punishment room. I like that. Yeah.
All right. Well, a little Dennis thing there, and Mark, I appreciate you being there.
Thanks.
But I think that I can speak for Joe Biden to any black, patriotic, thinking for themselves American who objectively views and defies their definition and characterization of what it is to be a black American citizen. Come on, man. What are you on drugs? Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate your call. Yeah, even that, the anger comes through too, right? A caller mentioned it last hour, but even the "come on, man," there's a lot of anger there if you give it a chance. With dog something, what does he call some of the people he doesn't agree with? Yeah, dog face, pony, so whatever it is. I mean, who knows what'll happen in the debate? But let him do it on his own. Let's go to a lady in Los Angeles, California. I don't know, maybe you don't want to say your name, but go ahead, lady.
Hi, great meeting you, Mark.
Here.
Okay, this is Lady Kate Sparelli in Los Angeles, California, and I want to say, if people usually say what California does, a lot of states do. Well, hopefully they don't do everything California does, but we, the people here, are not as crazy as people think. They know not to go up to people who are Trump supporters and step in their face with noise. I have on my car President's Trump stickers on the front bumper and the back bumper. And it's accompanied with marriage, the fish symbol and the pro-life symbol and restore marriage to man and woman only symbol. And I've had it on my car since 2016. Okay, I was asked if anything happened to my car, like scratches and things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's actually just little things on my car because I parked in the handicap section, so people don't want to actually be seen in that kind of exposed area, and cameras are around. But I've also, here's another thing, I wear my Trump cap. I have Trump caps in all colors, so I wear it everywhere I go. Well, sometimes at church events. No, at church events I do wear, not to like worship service, but I do wear my Trump cap. And so everybody knows me. All my friends, those who are Democrats, they know me, and they elected me on, community councils and that sort of thing. So they know that they need Republicans because they also have been working with Democrats forever, and they've accomplished nothing. I've been in battles with them against Democrat legislators because they request something and they won't even come out and support the community that they were elected in. And it's majority Democrat.
Well, thanks for your courage. I was just thinking, Sean, I've got 3 old cars. If anybody should be okay putting stickers on or Trump signs, because everything's falling apart in them anyway. So what do I care if they keyed? If they keyed, it would probably look better. So what do you reacting that way? So I'm the last one that should have a problem with that. Let's see. Anita in Lake Forest, Illinois. You're on with Mark. Hi, Anita.
Hi, Mark.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I voted for Trump in 2016 because I couldn't stand Hillary Clinton and her hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
This time I'm going to vote for Trump because of all his accomplishments. I have a group of friends all around my age, all retired professionals, who Zoom every night to pray for Trump's re-election. We're good Catholics, and we're very confident our prayers will be heard. Anyway, the thing that made me call was something I heard on MSNBC this morning, because my husband is also a Republican and tunes into Fox mostly, but he also listens to the other stations. who are telling lies all the time. Anyway, we had a young college student who called because he wanted, I think it's the University of Iowa or Iowa State University. Anyway, one of those big universities, because he said a lot of them, including himself, caught coronavirus. Well, you look at him talking, because I guess they were Facebook or whatever medium they did. He looked so healthy, so energetic. And I go like, these people are afraid of corona. And he went to school to close again and go electronically. And I think it's the media that makes everybody scared of the corona.
Yep.
When in fact, I think, if I get it and I don't have symptoms or mild symptoms, that would make me happy. Because
and we're running out of time. Yeah, of course, the overwhelming majority of people, leaving out the very vulnerable, over 80 and, having pre-existing conditions, don't have much to worry about. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be cautious sometimes. That could be true of the flu too, right? You don't want to get the regular flu either. And again, but you don't want it to determine your life. You don't want it to get in your way of living, as Dennis mentions all the time. We'll take your calls, 1-8-PRAGER-776. Let me know what you think. I've made it very clear. President Trump will win this re-election, so feel happy. Mark Geisler for Dennis Prager.
Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
We got to the policeman, and the policeman I don't think recognized me, and as they came closer, they were shouting my name, and the crowd doubled to 60, and then it doubled again to 120. And as they were surrounding us, and it got closer and closer, and everybody kept pushing back, the policemen were forming a barricade with their bodies. I whispered to the policeman, they know who I am. You've got to get reinforcements. It's going to get worse. He called for reinforcements, but we didn't get any reinforcements. We waited, but the crowd was getting bigger and bigger and pushing in. They were yelling threats. They were trying to push the police over to get to me. They were grabbing at us. And it got worse and worse and worse. And then finally we decided to make a move. I said, we've got to move. If there's not going to be reinforcements, we have to try to get to the hotel, which was another block.
And then Senator Paul said something that was pretty profound about what he and his wife experienced last night outside the White House.
If the police are not there, if you defund the police, if we become Portland, if America becomes Portland, what's going to happen is people are going to be pummeled and kicked in the head and left senseless on the curb. That would have happened to us. I promise you, had we not had the D.C. police to support us, I mean, we are thankful that we have police, and we've got to wake up. We can't have the whole country. We can't have Joe Biden rule the country and have no police. I mean, we can't walk down the street in D.C. safely now.
What amazes me is that these demonstrators and violent people in the streets of America don't even realize how much damage they're doing to their chances of taking the White House. They don't even realize. I truly believe Americans are ready and are going to get this right on November the 3rd. This is what we're up against, and we can win.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Yeah, not shocked at all by the sort of grotesque display that was against the law. More super grossed out and really worried about the people who gathered there, who put their lives at risk to kind of squish together and support the president.
Well, and this is what you said.
Mika Brzezinski. She's super grossed out at the grotesque display she witnessed at the White House last night. I was there. My name's Sebastian Gorka. Let me tell you, Mika, what America is super grossed out about. We're super grossed out by the fact that people leaving that event were abused white people, black people, elderly people, people who have lost their limbs for this nation, like Congressman Brian Mast, who had his legs amputated above the knee when he was injured in combat, abused and shouted at. Why? Because he's not you, Mika. He's not a Democrat.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Thus far, are you watching this and just amazed at how quickly the RNC has put together what is a flawless virtual convention?
Well, I didn't know what to expect.
TEDfor20.com. Mark Eisler sitting in for Dennis Prager. And folks, you keep asking Dennis, what can I do to help save my country this November? Like you, Dennis knows America itself is on the ballot. Our freedoms, our free enterprise system, our way of life. The 2020 election is about turnout. Our opponents have their get out the vote machine. It's why Dennis is supporting a massive get out the vote effort of our own, sponsored by my friends, Dennis's friends at Job Creators Network. Here's how it works. Go to 10for20.com and take the 10 for 20 pledge. You'll receive a link that'll give you the most trusted voting information and tools you can use to become a part of the largest conservative get out the vote effort ever. You'll be contacted by email and asked to send a link and message to 10 people you know who care about America, family and neighbors, church and work friends, and make sure they sign the pledge and get the information they need to vote in person or by mail. I don't know if you noticed, it's one of the things Michelle said at the convention. They're worried about turnout too. She said, make a plan, or Obama said that, make a plan. Well, we got to match that and do better. They need to vote in person or by mail. To join this army for freedom and save our country, go to 10for20.com and take the pledge now. Don't let our opponents outwork us. Do your part. Go to 10for20.com now. That's the number 10, F-O-R, the number 20.com. And the board is filled, but we'll get to your calls as quickly as we can. So many good ones. Let's go to someone disagrees. I like that. Thomas in Tennessee, you're on with Mark. Go, Thomas.
Hey, so am I actually live right now?
You are.
So I'm not entirely comfortable voting for either senile accused rapists at this point. I'm probably at this point either just going to vote for Joe Jorgensen or just flooding Tulsi Gabbard or John McAfee.
I'll write somebody in. Yeah, we don't know that he's a rapist, so you have to say alleged, right? And you could say you could think which one. That's fair. But Biden also has been accused, right? I can't think of the lady's name of elite sexual harassment.
I guess there is much more video evidence of Biden actually.
So you're not going to vote for either one. I got it. You'll vote for a write-in, and that's fair. Doesn't mean much, right? Because write-ins are never going to win, just like voting Libertarian. What's the point? I agree with Libertarians nationally, not internationally for the most part, but they're not going to win. So what's the point? Let's go to Jerry in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Jerry, you're on with Mark.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call. Listen, I just have a question, and I may even be way off track, but my question is it seems like the other side, and I say the other side, I'm not trying to be ignorant here, but when I say the other side, maybe I'm talking about Democrats or Black Lives Matter, whatever it might be, but it seems that they always seem to be able to get away with stuff. And it seems like and I'll say for the sake of the conversation, the Trump side or whatever the Republican side, it seems like we always can never rise up and can never sue or argue or make a point or anything. It seems like they're winning all the time. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, because I accused Obama of lying a lot. Now, Biden was on the other day. The things he said about Trump, I kept saying to my television screen, he's just lying. That's not true. He's just making stuff up. Like he said, he used the wrong word. He said stroked the riots, instead of saying, I think he meant to say stoked. Okay, but what is he talking about? He's tried to bring in the National Guard or any of these mayors. If they ask for help, he's going to help them. But how is he the one making these riots happen? I mean, it's incredible what they accuse him of. They just lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're in league with me. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I just have I personally, and I appreciate what you said. I personally have a hard time taking that because it seems like when a guy is down or a person's on the ground, you don't keep on kicking and kicking and kicking. They got to be able to do something to come back, whatever it might be.
Well, they try, and I appreciate your call, but remember, they have the media on their side. The media doesn't even report, a lot of these riots and what were originally they'll call demonstrations. Did you see? I have it somewhere in here where the CNN reporter said mostly peaceful. This is about Kenosha. Mostly peaceful, while the buildings were burning in the background, but fiery. That's what he said. But fiery, while the buildings are burning in the background. The other side has the media on their side. That's huge. Makes a huge difference. And kind of on the same line, John in Libertyville, Illinois. John, you're on with Mark.
Hi, boy, I disagree with you. There's so much I'd like to talk to you about. I doubt I'll get as much time as someone who agrees with you, but I want to say something about...
Well, wait. That was unfair because you're manipulating me, trying to say, well, now give me more time. I actually give more time to people who disagree with me or go to them right away, as Dennis does. But go on. Make your point.
All right, great. Regarding the debate, you guys have set the bar so low for Joe Biden. Everyone on the right is saying, it's so embarrassing. He can barely talk. He's senile. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He can't talk without a prompter. All that stuff. So the bar has been set very, very low.
Did you hear me?
What's gonna?
But by the way, did you hear me the first hour? What I said?
Yeah, I heard you say how sad it is.
No, I said that's a mistake for President Trump or anybody else to keep setting the bar so low. I said the American people should see it for themselves. I think we make a mistake when we say Biden is this and that, and I think I can say it's sad because I think he's got some issues there, and I wish they had never put him through this. But I say we should never say he's terribly can't speak. Just the opposite of what you said. So don't say
I don't.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think he's being put through it. I think he chose. But I will tell you this. You said, he said stroke the violence, and he meant stoke. You filled in the gap. Here's what people are going to do when they see the two of them up on stage. People know the difference between an old guy who has a little bit of trouble expressing himself sometimes and fumbles his words and a guy who is a pathological liar. And people will give Joe Biden the benefit of the doubt because they basically know what he means. While Trump just lies at will. I mean, and people know it. It's obvious. He says all kinds of things that are easily fact-checked as false. Well, and I just don't... Yeah, I think in that matchup, Biden benefits.
Yeah. I don't agree with you, obviously. We have a different take. I don't think Trump is a pathological liar. I do agree he exaggerates crowd size and stuff like that. I don't.
He lies.
Yeah, I know. No, you're not going to convince me if you say it 10 times in a row. I'm acknowledging.
Well, can I give you an example?
Hold on a second. Let me speak. I'm acknowledging that we have a different take on whether he's a pathological liar or not, and it doesn't matter how many examples you give me because I don't see what you see. But I'll go for it.
Oh, okay. Well, boy, it's just an avalanche of things to point out, but I'll go with this one. I mean, obviously, the president lies about planes full and buses full of scary Antifa thugs coming to destroy your town.
See, I don't think that's just what I meant. Let's dialogue. That's what I meant. That's not a lie. That's an exaggeration. If he says the crowds were the biggest crowd ever, that's not a lie. That's an opinion.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Maybe you didn't see his interview with Laura Ingraham. He was very specifically talking about a plane full of black-clad Antifa thugs carrying gear. It wasn't an exaggeration. It was a very specific reference to something that does not exist.
Yeah, I didn't see that, so I can't comment on it. And I'll assume.
Convenient.
Yeah, no, but that's a bad. Wait a second. Wait, John. If that's your best example after 3.5 years,
no, I've got more.
I know you got. You said you had thousands, almost. It seemed like, right? That's a bad one. That's a bad start. Go ahead.
Okay, let me try another one then. Yeah. The president has been giving himself.
We ran out of time. Hold on. I'll see if I can get you back after the break. Mark Eisler for Dennis Prager.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
If ever there were pressure on the voters to pay attention, because we don't have the sources that we once did. You know, if you turn on CNN, you're really getting something so dramatically slanted. It's actually shocking. I mean, it happened when this president got elected, pretty much. Something shifted so dramatically, and we're having to fight just to know what's happening, what's not happening, because they're straight up not covering some things, as you just mentioned. It's a scandal, and it's a real inflection point in the republic.
I think they figured out how to monetize, how to conflate the news with advocacy and how to monetize it. And I do go on CNN's website from time to time, and I'm just stunned. Not just, the news, Eric, is not just how you cover things; it's what you decide to cover. I mean, that's a lot of power. I get to decide what is news, and then I get to decide how to kind of portray it. You go on the CNN website, and or even worse, the Washington Post or the New York Times. I mean, I was watching. I watched Tim Scott and Nikki Haley last night. I didn't watch anything other than those two. But if you flip on the New York Times, they are essentially extensions of the Democrat Party. So Republicans have a choice. We can go get our own newspaper, but the citizenry loses because their question is, okay, where do I go just to find the straight news, the straight facts? I mean, how would you answer that question if a young person came up to you and said, Eric, where do I go to just find the facts?
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
All of the blue check, blue bubble Twitter people were wringing their hands over the fact the president pardoned a completely rehabilitated felon, brought him back into society, and that he made 5 new Americans, and they were outraged he was doing it at the White House. They apparently forgot President Obama filling out his ESPN brackets annually at the White House. I mean, honestly, they are out of arguments.
Well, I think that they're concerned that the president's record is being exposed, that he got criminal justice reform done, that he got long-term funding for HBCUs done, that he got an economy going that had minorities and women employed at the highest numbers in virtually the history of this country. And they're afraid that people are paying attention and actually understanding what has been done since President Trump got into office. They're terrified of that. They're also terrified of us pointing to the fact that our cities are being destroyed, our communities are less safe, and the Democrats are turning a blind eye towards it. And I would, if I were them, I'd be worried too, because this is when the American people start paying attention to an election. And if they know they have a president that's lowered taxes and focused on the conditions of minorities far more than Joseph Biden ever has over the last 47 years, that's going to have a consequence for the Democrats on Election Day, and they know it.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Don't tell anybody I told you this. Especially don't tell Joe Biden. I don't.
Mark Eisler for Dennis Prager, 1-8-PRAGER-776. I go to callers that disagree with me. Although, John, I was going to ask you, what did you tell the screener you were going to talk about?
I said I was going to tell you that I thought that Biden had an advantage in the debate, as I did tell you, because I think that people will know the difference between a man who sometimes fumbles his words getting it wrong and a man who just lies.
Okay.
I think people understand the difference.
No, that's not why I asked you, because it says something else on the screen, but maybe the screener missed that. But by the way, you said that with Laura Ingraham, I didn't say it, a plane full of black Antifa people. That doesn't change the point he was trying to make, which is Antifa is a radical organization trying to destroy America. So what if he got it wrong? I don't even want to say so what. Let's assume you were right. He got that totally wrong, and there were no black Antifa members on an airplane. Does that change the point that they're trying to destroy this country? That's what they'd like.
I don't think Antifa is trying to destroy this country. I disagree with you about that.
Okay, or what it is now. Okay.
When the president,
so we have a difference.
It matters when the president of the United States tells people that there's a big plane full of bad guys coming to get them, and he's actually lying about that.
And that's what he said. There's a black plane full of people trying to get the average American. By the way, does Joe Biden lie? Does Barack Obama lie? Does Nancy Pelosi lie?
Give me an example.
I'll give you an example. You can have your health care and keep it. I lost it. And keep your doctor. How about Joe Biden talking about Hunter Biden saying that he didn't get that job because of his influence from his father? How about Nancy Pelosi saying it was a setup at the beauty salon? A setup, like someone forced her to go to the beauty salon. I mean, I don't want to compare apples to oranges. You guys are much worse. I watched Joe Biden get on there and lie through his teeth.
Does being under audit prevent the president from sharing his taxes?
What does that have to do with what I just said? Answer my question. Does Biden, does Obama, does Pelosi, does a long list of Democrats continually lie? It infuriates people on our side. That they make Obama for years just made up stuff, straw dummies, and then he attacked the straw dummies. But I'll give you a chance now. Go. Now you're going to talk about his taxes.
Do you believe that? Okay, my pre-existing conditions are covered by my health insurance because of the ACA. So why is Donald Trump giving himself credit for that achievement by Barack Obama?
That's not what I asked you. I said I gave you examples of people lying on your side, and you won't respond to it continuous, as you said. So
okay, I'm sorry. Which one do you want me to respond to? Which one would you like me to respond to?
There's so many, but the fact is that I wanted to clarify, as Dennis would say. You on your side, you see Donald Trump as a pathological liar. I see him as someone who can't.
He is a pathological
I know. I said that to you at the beginning. You think if you say it 20 times in a row, you're going to convince anybody? I'm going to tell you 20 times in a row he's not a pathological liar. Okay, you're not listening. But I gave you a lot of time. You got to admit that, right? Thanks for calling, John. It's not going to answer my calls. I mean, when you get someone on, and it could be me. I mean, maybe Donald Trump said that exactly. So what? I admit he exaggerates. And this gentleman doesn't think that Antifa is a threat to the country. Probably not. I could have asked them about Black Lives Matter, too. Well, most of our young people probably who've been educated at our colleges also think there's nothing wrong with Black Lives Matter. It's painted on the sports stadiums. They're a Marxist organization. Their leaders have admitted that. I think that's a problem. I think America's special. But I gave him a lot of time, and he said, "You're going to give me as much time." No, I gave him more time than anybody else. Let's go to John in Chardon, Ohio. You're on with Mark. Hi, John.
Hey, Mark. Question.
Yeah.
The upcoming debate, September 29th. Now, are they both going to? Are both Biden and Trump going to get the same question?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the details. The only thing I just heard was that Chris Wallace is going to do. He's going to be one of the moderators, which didn't make me feel too good.
Yeah. If you watch his Sunday show, I agree.
I can't watch it anymore. I mean, he's biased, and he's allowed to be. He can be on the other side. Well, that's okay. By the way, to that caller, I would have said, do you notice how we kind of give the other side a chance somewhat on some of our media outlets, and you guys never do, like CNN or MSNBC? Not to mention the major channels, ABC, CBS, NBC. I just watched a reporter the other day on local news, and I was thinking, I'll give these guys a chance. A CBS affiliate say, "Can you believe this?" And she was talking about the head of the NSA saying he's not going to do in-person interviews. Can you believe this? Are you doing the news or are you giving me your opinion?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Biden got the questions in advance under the table.
Well, he does. He does now, right? When he answers a few questions, he knows the questions. Yeah. They've already screened the questions. I appreciate your call.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's got the questions in advance. Doesn't seem to help much.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. The recent unveiling of the Republican agenda for a second term gave much encouragement to many who need it. Defeat COVID, create jobs, disentangle from China, provide school choice, teach American exceptionalism unapologetically, defend the police as an institution, oppose human trafficking. These and other measures offer sanity, flourishing, and hope to an embattled country. No agenda can cover every issue. Two outstanding issues need platforming, however: religious liberty and abortion. The Trump administration has taken stands on both of these momentous matters and to good effect. In days ahead, though, supporters of religious liberty and the unerasable humanity of the unborn need more support, not less. Religious liberty, after all, is for this gloriously free society the first freedom. Among other righteous ends, it enables a diverse coalition of many voices to speak on behalf of the unborn, until the murderous abomination of abortion is a distant memory. I'm Owen Strand.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Super personal for me. I mean, you know, my dad was a cop. He spent almost 20 years on the force, and on literally on his last day at the job, in 20 years, my dad never pulled his gun out of his holster. 20 years on the job, his last day on patrol, pulls a guy over in a car, walks up to the guy pulls out a gun, puts it in his face, pulls the trigger. The gun just did not go off. It misfired. The guy had a murder felony warrant out for his arrest. So there, but for the grace of God, go out. Look, here's one of the big problems.
And he was all right. He got arrested.
Oh, yeah. My dad, yeah. You know, arrested the guy. Dad came home, never bothered to mention it. You know, it's like, I think it was 20 years later. He goes, yeah.
Last day on the job.
I remember that time that guy almost shot me. So, well, you know, my dad was a Korean War vet. He spent 18 months in combat. He was like, better people than you have tried to shoot me, brother. But this is one of the big challenges here that she really took on, because this, of course, got no attention, no press, no media,
no demonstrations.
And this is what the media is doing. They are normalizing violence, right? They are excusing this activity as either, well, this isn't really part of what we're doing, it's justified. And normalizing violence means that violence is normal. And so
it can be used as a tool.
And they're enabling these children and convincing them that what they are doing is just and correct.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
But prison reform did get through. How often does that come up on the campaign trail? Because it sure was front and center in the Republican convention this week, Senator Collins.
It was. Occasionally the First Step Act and the criminal justice bill comes up, but much more often comes up people's absolute outrage at Democratic efforts to starve our police departments of resources, to defund the police effort. One of the groups backing my opponent is a big proponent of defunding the police. I spent some time with the Portland Police Department, and they're really feeling unsupported by their city council. It truly is tragic. Here are these brave men and women who put their lives on the line for us each and
Mark Eisler sitting in for Dennis Prager, and let's go to another Mark in Newberry, South Carolina. You're on with Mark.
Hey, Mark. This is Mark.
Yeah.
I just have to ask you the first thing. How do you spell it? Is it M-A-R-K or M-A-R-C?
You know I spelled the right way with a K.
Thank you. I'll continue the call then.
Oh, you wouldn't have continued.
I hang up if you said C.
Okay, good. Hey, by the way, right below you on my board is another Mark from Fresh Meadows, New York. So we'll see how he spells it after you.
Well, if he's a C, just
Just, I'll just get rid of him. I'll just dump him and say, hey, you didn't spell it right. Goodbye.
I got you. Hey, real quick. Actually, I'm going to address with the other gentleman that you had on for a very long time, and I also have a very quick, but I won't take half as long. Another point. But this guy that called, just so you know, if I'm not mistaken, he's the one that called Dennis Prager before, and when Dennis Prager cornered him with facts, he finally resorted to most liberals a name calling. He called him a devil with the Bible in one hand or something like that, and a pitchfork in the other. I mean, that just goes to show you that the typical response when you get facts or you ask questions like lawyers do, yes or no, and yes or no questions cut through all the crap, and he just can't do it.
Yeah, he didn't want to hear about Hunter Biden. He didn't want to hear about Obama or Pelosi. Right. He went on to the next thing. That's what they do. Yeah, I know.
Exactly, and I feel if you don't get people on the radio that can't answer your yes or no questions and just try to politician the answers, you don't need to give them that much time. But here's my point. As far as the guy that called about the Trump hat and thing, I have a Trump hat. I'm originally from Massachusetts. I live now in South Carolina, Newbury. I have a lot of black Americans I work with. I transport to the doctors. Way more interactions than I did when I lived up north. Well, I have a Trump hat, and I'll be honest, I feel as though if I wear that on public, as I tried before, that I do get the look, but I do automatically feel that I have to be a racist. What I did is I ordered, and I haven't done this yet, but I'm going to wear it, a Martin Luther King shirt. And I will be wearing my Trump mega hat with the Martin Luther King shirt. And I'm sure that would send some confusing messages out there, but I think maybe that would counterbalance it. The people with mega hats are not, generally speaking, racist.
Not generally speaking. I never meet people who are racist. People may kid around and tease each other, but I don't ever meet the genuine racists that they talk about in the conservative movement. I never see it. And I don't think Donald Trump is racist.
The whole thing.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's a stigma. And I also have a Jimi Hendrix shirt, too, which is rocking off.
Yeah, except I never liked him, so it's okay. I'm going to dump you because you spelled your name wrong. Hey, thanks, Mark, for your call. Bye-bye. Let's go to Kathy in my hometown. Well, is it still my hometown? Brooklyn, New York. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, that's your hometown? Brooklyn, New York's your hometown?
Yeah, I was born in Brooklyn. You know Coney Island?
Do I know Coney Island? I'm born and raised here, 1955. I know every part of Brooklyn in and out.
I wasn't born in Coney Island, but I lived most of my life in Coney Island, a little bit in Seagate and mostly I was a teacher in Coney Island, and I was a student at the same school. I'll tell you a quick story. I was a student at the same school I got assigned to as a teacher, my first job, and there was one teacher who was still there. Ready for this, Sean? I didn't like him as a kid. And then I found out as a colleague why I didn't like him. It wasn't nice in either case. But anyway, yeah. So Coney Island brings back cool. Memories. Go ahead, Kathy.
No, I just want to say that New York City is going to hell in a handbasket.
I heard that.
And the guy that you were speaking to, he's just one of those modern day evil radical socialist Democrats, and they don't focus on the big picture. Biden's being used by the communist socialists to get their foot in the door. Once he's in the door, forget about it. These people are more blinded by the hate they have for Trump than the love they should have for their country. They don't realize it's not against Trump and Biden. It's not an election against Trump and against Biden. It's between America the beautiful, one nation under God, vote versus a socialist communist country. What is wrong with these people? You tell them a lie long enough, they start believing it, and they start saying it like if it's true. They're just brainwashed. It's like a cult mentality. And I'm living in New York City, and these people are like nuts. They're like one big cult. And now the governor, he's trying to speak up for us, saying Trump is a clown. He's not welcome here. He better be. No, he's welcome in New York. A lot of us people in New York, we love Trump. And I don't want Como speaking up for everybody that lives in New York. A lot of people love Trump, but, they're on the down low because they're worried because of the mob. Yep. But you know what? We got to start speaking up because this is like We're being bullied into silence. And this is our last chance to speak up. If we lose our country, we're done.
Well, that's what I'm going to talk about in the next hour, but you were so eloquent. By the way, did you see that diner where they came into the people they were eating, and I forget, Brianna, what's her name? Brianna, say her name. They didn't let the people eat unless they agreed. I mean, talk about bullying, like you said.
I wish I was in that diner. I truly wish I was in that diner, and I'm eating my hamburger, and somebody says, say something. You know what? They know what tree to bark up. Believe me, they are just a bunch of bullies, and people have to start speaking up and stop being the silent majority. They got to stop being so silent. We lost our freedom to speak.
Wow. Kathy,
God bless America.
God bless America.
Care.
Thank you so much for your call. Bye. Wonderful. I was going to ask her, we're going to run out of time. I heard New York is getting worse and worse. You just walk outside on the street now between, defecation and of course, the crime. Yeah, and I got a friend, a longtime friend. We grew up together. He's still living there. And he does his workouts in his apartment house because he doesn't go outside. I mean, that's a question my last hour. I don't know if I'll ever get to it. Who's the worst mayor in America? That's how big, Sean, that's a contest, let me tell you. In New York City and Chicago and Portland and Los Angeles. Who did I leave out? Wow. One is worse than the other. Let me know what you think. 1-8-Prager-776. I'm Mark Eisler, filling in for Dennis Prager.
Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
All of the blue check, blue bubble Twitter people were wringing their hands over the fact the president pardoned a completely rehabilitated felon, brought him back into society, and that he made 5 new Americans, and they were outraged he was doing it at the White House. They apparently forgot President Obama filling out his ESPN brackets annually at the White House. I mean, honestly, they are out of arguments.
Well, I think that they're concerned that the president's record is being exposed, that he got criminal justice reform done, that he got long-term funding for HBCUs done, that he got an economy going that had minorities and women employed at the highest numbers in virtually the history of this country. And they're afraid that people are paying attention and actually understanding what has been done since President Trump got into office. They're terrified of that. They're also terrified of us pointing to the fact that our cities are being destroyed, our communities are less safe, and the Democrats are turning a blind eye towards it. And I would, if I were them, I'd be worried too, because this is when the American people start paying attention to an election. And if they know they have a president that's lowered taxes and focused on the conditions of minorities far more than Joseph Biden ever has over the last 47 years, that's going to have a consequence for the Democrats on Election Day, and they know it.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Don't tell anybody I told you this, especially don't tell Joe Biden. I don't think that there should be any debates. I do not think that the President of the United States has comported himself in a way that anybody should, and that has any association with truth, evidence, data, and facts. I wouldn't legitimize a conversation with him, nor a debate in terms of the presidency of the United States.
When are you going to start listening to me, huh? When are you going to listen to Big Daddy? What did I tell you? What did Big Daddy tell you about them afraid to put Biden up on the debate stage? Sharon, you're up. How you doing, Sharon?
How would you like another conspiracy theory?
I'm ready.
Based on what Hillary said about Biden should not concede under any
Right.
circumstances. My idea is that they're going to contest the outcome of the presidential election in the hopes of putting her in as an interim president until it's resolved. And the only way to fight that is to make sure we take the House.
Well, we got to take the House, and I'm not sure that as Americans, I got to believe, are recoiling at Pelosi.
Mark Eisler filling in for Dennis Prager. Love doing this. Have a great time. And Kathy was eloquent. I'm sure you're still listening, Kathy. You expressed what a lot of us think and feel. Walter in Chicago, you're on with Mark.
Hi, welcome. Great discussion so far. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I guess I just had maybe, I don't know if a question or a comment. You had your earlier viewer on, and he was talking about how could you look at Trump and not see this? And he just, God bless him, he really reminds me of I've got a brother. He's a social justice warrior. He used to admit that he would go to some of these police protests. He would throw urine and feces at the police officers.
Wow.
Now he kind of doesn't admit it. But it's like every place he looks, he just sees, a white, evil 1% oppressing and taking advantage of all these innocent people. And it's obvious to him, but it's like all he can see. It's like it's on his, I think it was an old saying in the Talmud that we see things not as they are, but as we are. And I think for people that are kind of possessed by a certain philosophy, it's all they can see. And when they look at Trump, they see the devil.
They must, because it doesn't match reality, what they see. Walter, I was going to ask you, how do you account for the difference between you and your brother?
Well, I don't know. We're some big Irish family, so like everybody is totally different, and we all argue with each other to the death in all family things. I think for me, I fundamentally see myself as like an Irish Catholic. So I mean, I think that we live in a spiritual reality, and then when it comes to like politics, I'm kind of independent, right? But I can't say that it's okay for my brother to be, throwing feces and urine at these police officers when I've got two of my cousins that are police officers that are on the receiving end.
Yeah, but I don't even have cousins. I did years ago. I had a cousin who was in the New York Police Department. But how could you do this? If we get rid of the police, who do we call? Where do we go when we're in trouble? These people are out of their minds.
Well, they live in a different reality, right? And it's a reality. And see, I think the challenge is like if you talk to somebody and they believe like there's no such thing as the color green. You point to color green, right? You have challenged the reason for existence. My brother's his sense of meaning is that he is a social justice warrior. He is fighting for all these oppressed people.
Well, let me guess that he doesn't
challenge and say.
Yeah, let me guess he doesn't believe in God or have that purpose or a belief in something higher than him. So everybody wants a purpose, and that's his purpose. Walter, thanks for your call. I appreciate it very much. We're going to talk about America. What's on the line? Let me know what you think. Mark Eisler filling in for Dennis Prager.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
I think we're living at a time where the news won't talk about this. They conflate the two ideas as though if you care about Black lives, you have to side with Black Lives Matter. And I got to tell you, if you care about Black lives, and you better, if you're any kind of a Christian, you have to speak out against Black Lives Matter.
Eric, when I hear that phrase, the question I want to ask is, where were you 20 years ago? Where were you when I was trying to convince witnesses that saw a little girl get shot at a birthday party to come forward and cooperate because her life mattered? Because you know what happens. You have a homicide. You got to go to court and prove it. If you don't have witnesses, if they won't cooperate, if they won't tell you who was driving the car or what kind of car it was, then that life is devalued because you're not going to get a conviction. what you do is you wind up pleading it down to something that is not reflective of the value of her life. So if you want to prove, not say, but prove that Black Lives Matter, then start helping us treat those lives the same way in the courtroom and get the exact same verdict for the death of an 8-year-old black girl as you would someone else. So don't tell me it matters. Prove it to me and start cooperating. I don't know where they were 20 years ago, but I didn't hear I didn't hear a lot of help for prosecutors and cops that were trying to not just say that Black Lives Matter, but actually prove it in the court of law.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Here's the reporter. Again, I'm not trying to laugh in a ha-ha way. This actually happened. And picture this report with a graphic that says, fiery but mostly peaceful protests. Here it is.
What you're seeing behind me is one of multiple locations that have been burning in Kenosha, Wisconsin over the course of the night. A second night since Jacob Blake was seen shot in the back 7 times by a police officer. And what you are seeing now, these images came and come in stark contrast to what we saw over the course of the daytime hours in Kenosha and into the early evening, which were largely peaceful demonstrations in the face of law enforcement. It wasn't until night fell that things began to get a little bit more contentious. Things were thrown back and forth. Police started using some of those crowd dispersal tactics like tear gas, even playing very loud sounds to push them out. And then what you are seeing, the common theme that ties all of this together, is an expression of anger and frustration over what people feel like has become an all too familiar story playing out in places from across the country, not just here in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Got it. Expression of frustration and anger in the fiery but mostly peaceful protest. And if you're watching now on the stream at MikeOnline.com, you see the guy standing there with all the burning buildings behind him. Somebody at CNN in a position of authority said, you know what graphic we'll put up here? We'll put up a graphic because we can't let people know that they're rioting and that they're tearing down and destroying our city. That doesn't play well.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Now, isn't it interesting? I was talking to somebody about this the other day, that you know all these people that go on about how great the women leaders are of this world. You know, that woman down in New Zealand, you know, the woman running Germany and ruining Europe, Angela Merkel. You know, it's all right apparently to call them women when you're being kind about them, but it's not okay to call them women if you want to actually discuss whether or not, you know, they can be of any particular gender. And President Trump, right, he suggested that it might be necessary to put off the election because of the COVID virus, right? She actually does put off the election. He gets called a fascist. She gets called a hero. Go figure.
Mike, how about this? How about if my boss, President Trump, says that he feels like a woman? Does that mean he's the first female president? Because by lefty logic, logic, he is.
Yeah, absolutely right. Of course, he can self-identify as that if he so wishes. You know, good luck to him.
I'm going to get wax philosophical for 1 second. If gender, Mike, just bear with me. If gender is a social construct, why do you need to have transgenderism?
Well, that's a very good question.
Why do you need to have operations if it's a social construct? Can you tell I studied philosophy?
I can tell that, and it's coming in very handy in this day and age, because it really is quite remarkable. I mean, you know, we have a situation now here where all logic has gone out the window from the establishment, right? You've got the BBC, who've decided that Land of Hope and Glory, which was written...
You're a mind reader. Okay, explain to us what happened at this amazing thing called the Proms. You've got these 2 songs. Explain to us what the BBC tried to do to the British heritage.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
if ever there were pressure on the voters to pay attention, because we don't have the sources that we once did. You know, if you turn on CNN, you're really getting something so dramatically slanted. It's actually shocking. I mean, it happened when this president got elected, pretty much. Something shifted so dramatically, and we're having to fight just to know what's happening, what's not happening, because they're straight up not covering some things, as you just mentioned. It's a scandal, and it's a real inflection point in the republic.
I think they figured out how to monetize, how to conflate the news with advocacy and how to monetize it. And I do go on CNN's website from time to time, and I'm just stunned. Not just, the news, Eric, is not just how you cover things; it's what you decide to cover. I mean, that's a lot of power. I get to decide what is news, and then I get to decide how to kind of portray it. You go on the CNN website, and or even worse, the Washington Post or the New York Times. I mean, I was watching. I watched Tim Scott and Nikki Haley last night. I didn't watch anything other than those two. But if you flip on the New York Times, they are essentially extensions of the Democrat Party.
It's Mark Eisler back with you again, filling in for Dennis Prager. And you probably know, after 12 years of filling in for Dennis, you can still reach me. Sorry about that. Mark Eisler at AOL.com. I have to apologize, Sean, for AOL.com. MarkIsler. The caller wanted to know I spelled it with a K, and I do. Or you can follow me on Twitter or Facebook at Mark Eisler Show. In the first hour, I talked about my confidence that President Trump will win re-election in November. But what I didn't talk enough about was what's at stake. Kathy in New York put it very well, by the way. America is at stake. Or at least what America has always been. A country of limited government and limited interference in the lives of its people. With a free market, free speech, freedom of religion, on and on with our freedoms. Our founders had left tyrannies and abusive government and came here to get away from all of that. That idea of limited government, our students don't understand. And they wrote the Declaration and the Constitution with that philosophy in mind. Perhaps the two greatest documents in history, certainly government history. Stating, among other things, that powers not given to the federal government were given to the states and ultimately to the people. That had never been done before. Those who are old enough know when these freedoms were taken for granted. But maybe our children don't know. Not after their indoctrination in our public schools. I'm a part-time public school teacher. How else can you explain their support of socialism, communism, Antifa, or Black Lives Matter, which is a Marxist organization? They admit it. Need I mention the sports world now, which also supports Black Lives Matter? These athletes have no idea that if given the chance, Black Lives supporters would take their money and probably their lives too, because they hate capitalism and they hate the rich. Does that fool LeBron James get this? He has no clue. And neither, did you see that the New Orleans quarterback, he took back his support of the flag. I know you know this, in the Star-Spangled Banner. But now he's replaced it on his helmet. Sean, did you see this? He's got the supporting the racist with his name on it. Right? They don't talk about the guy who they shot 7 times, and that's arguable. But he had just gone and in the past at least done some untenable things that his girlfriend accused him of. That's the name, I forget the guy's name, that he's got on his helmet. Yeah, Drew Brees is doing it about Jacob Blake, right? Those are the correct names. That's what he's done. That's what because you can't say what you want to say here in America unless you have courage. With courts and stadiums having written support of Black Lives Matter, I thought I was going to at least be able to watch baseball, but they got it on the mounds there. And then it was the Dodgers and Giants. They didn't play for a night or two. But I posted on Facebook that instead of the NBA boycotting for one day, Why not do it forever? So they won't get their millions. No one would miss them, or at least very few. And maybe then they could understand how the rest of us live. I mean, it's unbelievable what these people don't understand. When did we lose our country? Likely with our schools. Obama's mentor Bill Ayers knew if they could get to the students early, they would control the future. And you've heard me say more than once on the air that it is not a wonder that our kids come out as leftists. It's only a wonder if any of them come out as conservatives. And you have also heard me say more than once that I am only able to teach because they don't know who I am, because they never listen to our side, and they never allow their students to hear the other side. There are many examples that I could give. If you're listening to the earlier hour, I gave one of them where everybody assumed I was a leftist like the rest of them. I didn't tell this story recently. One of the teachers walked up to me one day and after Justice Scalia died, and he said, "Knock, knock, Mark, will you play along with me?" And I said, "Sure." "Who's there?" And he said, "Justice Scalia died." And then he said, "That's funny enough." They're almost all leftists. And he saw the look on my face. He didn't say any more. This is what it's come to. And it's, but I digress. And I mentioned to you how far left the teachers are, and they transmit into the students. And always assume that everybody else is a leftist. And of course, we lose on social media. Need I mention where Prager University is banned? And of course, we lose with the mainstream media. One of the callers asked, how do we lose this? How do we lose this battle? Because you got the other side with the universities, with the media, with social media, with the school system. It's all against us. But the mainstream media lost any credibility a long time ago. And I said before, but I want to repeat it because I have it in my notes here exactly. With probably the best example being the reporter who said on CNN recently, fiery, but mostly peaceful protest in Kenosha, while a building, at least one building, burned in the background. That's what it's come to. I've said for a long time now, I lived on another planet. When the truth is in question and facts are disputed, I might as well be living on another planet. And that's what I had with that caller that I kept on a long time. By the way, he didn't tell the screener. What I read on my screen is what he told the screener he was talking about, and he lied about that. He didn't even say what he was. That's why I said, "What did you tell the screener?" I checked with the screener. This election is about the left taking over our country and wanting to bring socialism and communism to America. So it's really not an election between Trump and Biden. It is about an election about the future of America. Will it stay free, or will it be just another socialist tyranny? Will it still be the beacon of hope around the world? Will it still represent mankind's best hope as Lincoln proclaimed and knew? Or will it just be another Western European socialist country, or worse, a tyranny of the powerful over the powerless? And that's what Trump has represented to me, that he understands what the swamp is like. The left is ready for a violent revolution. They show it every day. And too few liberals have objected even to the denial of free speech and the ascent of cancel culture. And the riots and violence in Democrat-controlled cities all over the country, how can you miss that? In Portland, Seattle, Chicago, New York City, even in small cities like Kenosha. I never thought it would come to this in America. Immigrants coming from other countries can't believe what is happening here. They can't believe that what they traveled thousands of miles to get away from, what they worked so hard to never live under again, is now reappearing here in America. And I am worried about what will happen when President Trump wins re-election. I remember the night he won last time. I was so worried about his safety then while he and his family celebrated on election night. And I suspect I'll worry even more this time, because the left and the Democrats have been trying to get rid of him for more than 4 years to no avail. And his upcoming victory, if you think about this, will be even worse for them this time. They have tried everything and anything to get rid of him, and they will take it badly. Actually, very badly. I knew there was a civil war in this country, but I never imagined it would get this violent. But Black Lives and Antifa will have it no other way. They want to destroy America, and they have taken along our gullible young with them. You better be prepared to fight for the soul of our country. The left gets it. They know what is at stake. We better understand the same thing. Tell me what you think. What is at stake? What are you doing to save this country? At 1-8-PRAGER-776. And let's see if we can get a call in before we go to the break. Let's go to Richard in Greenville, South Carolina. You're on with Mark.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Pretty well. How are you doing?
Very good. I couldn't even imagine how excited I am to talk to you right now. I was just at lunch and listening to your broadcast, and you were talking to someone about the individuals that were on airplanes going around to the different protests. And I hope I misunderstood you, but it sounded like you said to this individual that there were black people that were traveling to these protests. And what I know is that's not, it's actually people that are dressed in black.
It's funny. The caller said that. I hadn't heard it. He said that on Laura Ingraham, Trump said that Antifa or Black Lives Matter, I think he said Antifa, they were traveling on a full plane load of them to go to these riots. It wasn't me. It was the caller.
Okay. So I just wanted to clear the air, and it's a fact that what Trump said was people in black were traveling, and that it wasn't a particular race. And because if that's something that gets out, that would certainly hurt our chances for President Trump to get reelected if
Thank you.
People thought.
Thank you for clarifying that, because that's what he did say, and it sounds like he was wrong. But what else is new? Mark Eisler filling in for Dennis Prager.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
And I'm very, very worried about how dramatically and radically left the Democratic Party has done. They're not the party of our parents. They have just thrown in with cultural Marxists, and I find it frightening, and I think America needs to understand what we are facing with that, because cultural Marxists don't believe in God, and they don't believe in the rules that God hands down. And so they just believe in whatever I need to do, power, however I can get power. Do you see something similar? What do you see happening?
I do, but my expectations for the Democrat Party were never that high to begin with. So, I mean, I kind of put them in a separate category. My real frustration over the last 4 years has been with the media and the way they cover Republicans versus Democrats, the way they cover issues. Steve Bannon's indictment is front page news, but an FBI employee who pleads guilty is buried. And my real frustration over the last 4 years, we desperately need a Department of Justice and a legal system that, while we may not always like it, we always respect it. And it's been a dreadful 4 years for the FBI and the Department of Justice. And I don't think we're going to make it as a culture if we can't agree that the law matters, that it should be blindfolded and oblivious to your political ideation or your race or your gender. I don't even see that anymore. I see a mitigation of using the levers of the Department of Justice and the FBI to impact an election.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
We got to the policeman, and the policeman, I don't think, recognized me. And as they came closer, they were shouting my name, and the crowd doubled to 60. And then it doubled again to 120. And as they were surrounding us, and it got closer and closer, and everybody kept pushing back, the policemen were forming a barricade with their bodies. I whispered to the policeman, they know who I am. You've got to get reinforcements. It's going to get worse. He called for reinforcements, but we didn't get any reinforcements. We waited, but the crowd was getting bigger and bigger and pushing in. in. They were yelling threats. They were trying to push the police over to get to me. They were grabbing at us. And it got worse and worse and worse. And then finally we decided to make a move. I said, we've got to move. If there's not going to be reinforcements, we have to try to get to the hotel, which was another block.
And then Senator Paul said something that was pretty profound about what he and his wife experienced last night outside the White House.
If the police are not there, if you defund the police, if we become Portland, if America becomes Portland, what's going to happen is people are going to be pummeled and kicked in the head and left senseless on the curb. That would have happened to us. I promise you, had we not had the D.C. police to support us, I mean, we are thankful that we have police, and we've got to wake up. We can't have the whole country. We can't have Joe Biden rule the country and have no police. I mean, we can't walk down the street in D.C. safely now.
What amazes me is that these demonstrators and violent people in the streets of America don't even realize how much damage they're doing to their chances of taking the White House. They don't even realize. I truly believe Americans are ready and are going to get this right on November the 3rd. This is what we're up against, and we can win.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Yeah, not shocked at all by the sort of grotesque display that was against the law.
Mark Eisler filling in for Dennis Prager. The coronavirus has made financial markets unpredictable and has not been a smooth ride for mortgage rates. Andrew and Todd are here to help you manage market volatility and help you get into a better financial situation. Many major banks and lenders are pushing back on purchase loans and suspending refi applications entirely, but not Andrew and Todd at Sierra Pacific Mortgage. They are clocked in and working remotely, ready to advise you on what's best for your situation. The decline in rates is fueling a boom in refinancing. I should know. I've been considering it and been doing it. If you're considering a refi, new purchase, cash out refi, or a reverse mortgage, don't wait on the sidelines. Rates are volatile, and there's no guarantee that they will drop further. Go to andrewandtodd.com today. Let Andrew and Todd help you navigate these challenging times. Call Andrew and Todd at 888-888-1172 or go to andrewandtodd.com and they'll take it from there. I was ready. My mortgage was well in process, but I was going to call them, and you should too. Mark, of course, sitting in for Dennis, and I promised I'd take your calls. But this is kind of a potpourri hour. I want to get some ideas out that you may not have thought about. Of course, the lockdown is obvious. This has been insanity. I live in California where our dictators, I should call them, Governor Gavin Newsom, I can't even watch him. The words he uses always government bureaucracy talk, mitigate, and I can't even think of some of the words. I can't watch him. It's so hard. And Mayor Eric Garcetti, if you live in Los Angeles, they've destroyed whatever hope was left there. Small businesses will never be the same. My barber, I don't even know if he's held on, is trying to hold on. That's how I have long hair. I haven't had a haircut. I think it's been a half a year. But who knows how long people like that can hold on? And I see examples all the time. So a local two-store restaurant that featured homemade pies, I don't want to say the name, it's not in business anymore. I could say the name, closed down after 40 years in business. Can you imagine that? He said, I can't make it, Mark. I can't make it with what's going on. The schools in LA will be shut down far longer than anywhere else, where online learning can never compare to in-person education. You can imagine what it's like. I'm not a technological wizard. As I struggle through, we spend more time, you do this, then you do that, then you hit that button, and then when they do this, you do that button, instead of real learning. It's just, they'll try to tell you it's different. And of course, you have the unions controlling Los Angeles, where I teach, with telling them they won't go back unless police are defunded. By the way, individual teachers don't agree with that. I bet you it could even be a majority. They want to be safe. You wouldn't believe what goes on in some of these schools, the stories I could tell you. Not in my school. I'm in a different division. But it's not the same, and it can never be as what it is in-person learning. Of course, the homeless encampments everywhere in Los Angeles, criminals being let out of jail. That may be true in your big city, too. Just the total disaster, except for the elite, like Nancy Pelosi, who still gets her haircuts. I'm sure you've seen it all over the airwaves. The paradise I came to is long gone. Many years ago when I came out to California, only the weather remains. And maybe that song I used to play on my local show, California Dreaming, it's a finding an available U-Haul. Tell me your take at 1-8-Prager 776. Let me go to some of your calls. Here's a Soviet immigrant. I wouldn't begin. I want you to tell me, how do you pronounce your name?
Vachagan, how are you?
How are you? I'm well, Vachagan.
Mark, it's a good show. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Sir, yes, I'm from Soviet Union, former Soviet Union. I was born there in 1964. I'm 56 years old. I was born in Armenia, and then I grew up I worked many years in Middle East. I was a Soviet employee of a military complex in Egypt and Libya. And in 90s, when I was a businessman already in New Russia, I transferred my business here to the United States, and eventually I became a United States citizen.
Congratulations.
My kids grew up here. Two of my sons I have 4 kids. 2 of them are proudly serving in our military.
Oh.
My daughter is a special prosecutor in Miami in the Human Trafficking and Narcotics Division.
Wow.
Sir, I have doctor's degree in political science from Russian Academy of Science, and I taught several years. And here I didn't teach that subject because I was politically just not matching the standards of universities. Unfortunately, I told the screener I didn't publish anything about this, or I don't have a recorded proof of it. But since George Bush presidency, I was predicting among my friends, peers, colleagues, that we inevitably will have a civil war. And I was actually pointing out at actual locations where it will start. And the only state that I missed was Minnesota. I mean, everything else was accurate about Portland, Oregon, about Seattle, Washington, everything. The reason, because I could see clearly that the pro-neo-Marxist, Bolshevik, communist movement, under guise of a different movement, progressivism, etc., liberalism, are flourishing in the United States. And unfortunately, it has also a racial context, and which makes it more violent and scary. It's not just class warfare; it's also racial warfare.
Well, they're making it that way. They're using it. Yeah.
And you see, the one of the issues that modern neo-Marxists, they are constantly mentioning that Bolshevik revolution was class warfare, and eventually it came to a point when people were clearly seeing, especially after the death of Joseph Stalin, that it doesn't work. It's not working. And they were, of course, underworld in Soviet Union. There were illegal enterprises, companies, restaurants, privately owned, especially capitalism slowly encroached and won, because it was its only logical way of living, the only way that people can survive and flourish. Now, modern neo-Marxists stated that the Russian Bolsheviks didn't know.
You got to go faster because we're going to hit that break. So you got to sum up your point, okay?
Oh yes, they didn't use minority issue. Racial or ethnic minorities should be used to succeed in new communist revolution, and that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, they have to divide the people, and they'll do what they can. Yeah.
Yes. So the only thing is to do is, again, let's give one more try. Let's try to do everything peacefully by voting during elections. Be active, go, vote, etc. But I hope it works. Unfortunately, I'm confident that even after our victory, we will win. Violence will not stop. And I hope our law enforcement and National Guard will be able to
eliminate.
We got to go, but I want to thank you. I agree with you, and I thank you for your family service. You've done a great job, and immigrants coming to this country understand the promise of America much better than a lot of our native-born people. Mark Eisler filling in for Dennis Prager.
Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
I am very worried about our country. I'm worried about what happens. In Louisville, there's going to be a decision whether or not they try those police officers that were involved in the no-knock raid of Breonna Taylor. When that decision comes down, they're already threatening to burn the city down. And we are going to preemptively need, and this is the job of the governor, it really has to be done by governors. That's the way our laws are written. But if our governor doesn't have the National Guard out to the tune of a couple of thousand soldiers on the day of that, it's all on him if they burn Louisville down. And they're already threatening to do it. And this is happening in other cities. And I truly agree with President Trump that if you want the country to look like Portland, that's what's going to happen if you let Joe Biden supporters and Black Lives Matter, if you let them win the election. So,
well, Senator, the Constitution. The Constitution calls for a federal city. It doesn't say it has to be in D.C. Would you be in favor of, keeping the mall and the White House and Congress and giving the rest back to Maryland?
I've always been in favor of letting them all go back to Maryland. Yeah, that Maryland can't get much worse with their elected representatives. So, no, I think that's probably not going to happen. I think realistically, home rule is a possibility. But the problem right now is the Democrats see the mob as their constituency. So you haven't heard Joe Biden or Kamala Harris condemn the attack on my wife and I and our two friends. I haven't heard a peep from them. All Joe Biden did was pop out of somewhere and say, "Oh, it's all President Trump's fault." Well, this is all going. Law enforcement is primarily the responsibility of local officials. It's state law. It's Democrats for 50 years that are responsible for this.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
How is it possible, Mike, Secretary Pompeo, how is it possible that ISIS is no longer a headline story like it was for years and years and years under Obama?
Focus and President Trump would be my two answers, and they are related. We went after it with the vigor and energy that said this is a serious matter. You remember this when the administration began. They were beheading Americans. You remember the videos? Yes. People in cages. They controlled a huge piece of real estate the size of the United Kingdom. And President Trump just said enough and unleashed our capabilities, our military, our intelligence capabilities, all of our diplomatic efforts to get our partners and allies. We built a coalition of 80-plus countries, and we crushed the caliphate. And the terrorists still exist. There's still work to do. It's the state of nature in some sense. But that risk, the fact that it's not in the news every day, is a direct result of the good work that's been done under President Trump's leadership.
Focus and leadership from the Commander-in-Chief and his team. Okay, let's talk about the news that really the mainstream fake news industrial complex, the legacy media, doesn't want to talk about. A historic flight and also an historic deal. I'm a cynic. I've traveled through the Middle East and I've said unsolvable problems there. Maybe I was wrong. Talk to us about the significance of the deal that has been brokered by your good offices, the president and his envoys.
So the president said about fundamentally upending the policies of the previous administration with respect to the Middle East. Previous administration said we're going to make the Islamic Republic of Iran the anchor tenant in our mall. President Trump said that doesn't work.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
It's a funny thing, isn't it, that Trump is so bold that he makes previous Republican presidents look weak.
Prager, and I said I'd mention some miscellaneous things. So What did there was not far from me, there was a teacher that wore a shirt that I can't breathe or whatever that thing was. I can't even remember anymore. I can't breathe, yeah. And the union leader who was supporting her had it worse, a Blue Lives Murder t-shirt. Can you imagine that? This is what you make of the police, and you want them to defend you. I mean, as I said before, this is insanity. Got a full board. I'll go to as many people as I can, as usual. Mike in Dallas, I think, Pennsylvania. Am I right, Mike?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. There's a Dallas in Pennsylvania.
I like it.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, I've heard, it's not faulting you for it, but I hear it from a lot of folks, popular comment, when did we lose our country? And there is no particular point in history that we lose what we have here. It's a process that's been coming probably now for more than 70 years. And the alignment of certain people with, say, the word McCarthyism, they forget to read and to become informed about the people that say McCarthy warned about, popular people in Hollywood. But there were also some people that were not public, that were working behind the scenes. Marxists and communists do not work the same way in every society. And what I've seen is a slow infiltration, so like a fifth column of, say, the three main sectors in almost every society: education, healthcare, and labor. And once you control those three sectors, you have a great amount of control over an overwhelming majority of society, because almost everyone participates in them to a certain extent. But it isn't a point. It's just that we're used to the way we're educated. When we go to school, we learn certain dates when this happened, when the attack on the Maine happened, when Yorktown happened. But these are just points. But there's no point like that for losing the country. It's a slow, gradual soakings, just like the frog in the hot water.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
when people ask me, you probably heard me say this as a teacher. I can tell you, I've watched it in the educational system. And Bill Ayers, Obama's mentor, said it. If we take over the schools, get them at an early age, they'll be indoctrinated, and we'll have them for life. And that's what's happened. Exactly. And notice most of the people protesting and rioting, forget protesting, are on the younger side. And that's all they've heard. They never heard the other side. They hear that America is evil. In fact, in California, there are new rules, or at least they have to teach something, I don't know when it starts, about how America is racist. And I'm paraphrasing. Overall, that's really the intent. That's how we were founded, right? They hear this, they don't hear the other side. So you may have heard me say this. No wonder they come out leftist. It's a wonder that any of them come out conservative.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for your call. And also the last caller, it's depressing, but yeah, we're in a civil war. How violent it gets, what goes on, depends on how we stop it. I mean, you go in, Giuliani did this in New York City, and you do it elsewhere. They riot, they burn a building, you just take care of them, arrest them, put them in jail. I saw one of these protesters supposedly was down in a fetal position crying when they arrested him. You got to show some strength. Can't do it the way these mayors are doing it. It's insanity. It'll just get worse and worse. They see what they can get away with. Claude in Schenectady, New York. You're on with Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Well, I have a solution, and then I'll tell you, that's all the people in the United States have to do is vote Republican across the board. We get rid of the Democrats. That's number one. Trump stated that he would use federal troops to put down these rioters, and if he doesn't, well, then I'm a Vietnam vet, okay? And it doesn't bother me at all to put these rioters down. It's my country.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a real issue, because the young man, I forget his name, who was being attacked. By the way, the people attack me on Facebook whenever I say something, and they say, He just shot 2 people. Nothing about self-defense where they were coming to kill him, but that's what you do. If you control, Kyle, if you have the media, get away with that. You could say whatever you want. They could lie up and down. Let me know what you think. 1A Prager 776. I'm Mark Eisler, filling in for Dennis Prager.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. The recent unveiling of the Republican agenda for a second term gave much encouragement to many who need it. Defeat COVID, create jobs, disentangle from China, provide school choice, teach American exceptionalism unapologetically, defend the police as an institution, oppose human trafficking. These and other measures offer sanity, flourishing, and hope to an embattled country. No agenda can cover every issue. 2 outstanding issues need platforming, however: religious liberty and abortion. The Trump administration has taken stands on both of these momentous matters and to good effect. In days ahead, though, supporters of religious liberty and the unerasable humanity of the unborn need more support, not less. Religious liberty, after all, is for this gloriously free society the first freedom. Among other righteous ends, it enables a diverse coalition of many voices to speak on behalf of the unborn, until the murderous abomination of abortion is a distant memory. I'm Owen Strand.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
You have been more fulsome in your praise of this president than others I would have expected to be. What do you suppose it is that he has done? Because he does seem to me like a man created by God for this hour. It's a kind of an extraordinary thing to watch. In your book, which is coming out soon, The Trump Century, you talk about him changing the course of history forever. I think that's exactly correct. So let's talk about that.
The first thing he did, Eric, was to stop the decline in the denial of America. And it didn't take him long. As soon as he openly changed the rhetoric of the public conversation, he inserted God back into the public square. He did so with tremendous, I think, deft stealth. And I'm talking, yes, about this president being stealthy. He was remarkable. And we saw it ring out in communities all over the country. It's one of the least appreciated accomplishments of this president. Not only is he preserving faith in this country, but he was putting faith and God on the public agenda and on the tongues of even those who would seek to remove God again from the public square. It's really been an astonishing accomplishment. And along with that, his support for law and order, his support for the assertion of sovereignty in this country. As he said from the beginning, without borders, there is no nation.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
I am very worried about our country. I'm worried about what happens. In Louisville, there's going to be a decision whether or not they try those police officers that were involved in the no-knock raid of Breonna Taylor. When that decision comes down, they're already threatening to burn the city down. And we are going to preemptively need, and this is the job of the governor, it really has to be done by governors. That's the way our laws are written. But if our governor doesn't have the National Guard out to the tune of a couple of thousand soldiers on the day of that, it's all on him if they burn Louisville down. And they're already threatening to do it. And this is happening in other cities. And I truly agree with President Trump that if you want the country to look like Portland, that's what's going to happen if you let Joe Biden supporters and Black Lives Matter, if you let them win the election. So,
well, Senator, the Constitution calls for a federal city. It doesn't say it has to be in D.C. Would you be in favor of, keeping the mall and the White House and Congress and giving the rest back to Maryland?
I've always been in favor of letting them all go back to Maryland. Yeah, that Maryland can't get much worse with their elected representative staff. No, I think that's probably not going to happen. I think realistically, I think home rule is a possibility, but the problem right now is that
If you keep up this good music, Sean, I won't talk. I'll just listen to the music. Mark Eisler filling in for Dennis Prager, and it's always a special honor, even though it's 12 years of doing this. I'm the one on the longest, and I appreciate it very much. I did mention the sports issue before. I just want to hope I can influence you. Don't watch any of it. The basketball, the football, you name it. Even the hockey joined in. I couldn't believe that. They probably don't even know some of these people. So professional sports are over for me, and I have my life back in some ways. I guess I got to mention Nancy Pelosi getting a haircut, which was banned, if you didn't know, in San Francisco. And she was in there without a mask. She said she was set up. I'll say she had a set. Isn't that a pun? And comb. And, of course, she was forced to have this haircut. She was forced. That's why she was set up. Someone pushed her in there. Well, Sean, did you see her try to step down? There was a step down there that she had to get down. I don't think anybody pushed her into doing this. She has enough trouble as it is. Be careful, Nancy. And, of course, she had no mask. And right after her appointment, she criticized on TV not wearing a mask. I guess at the Trump presidential speech at the convention. Remember her freezer filled with ice cream? I never really got to watch that. What kind of ice cream? She had fancy ice cream, didn't she? Very expensive, not the cheap kind I get at Ralph's, right? The Kroger brand. This is how the elite think and live. So San Francisco is shut down, but not for Nancy. It's unbelievable. But the party's gone so far left. Let me mention Joe Kennedy. Did you see that, Sean? He lost in Pennsylvania. The Democrat Party is now so far left. So when Biden gets up there and says, do I look like some, I don't know, radical? It doesn't matter. You're being used. You're being used. They've told you what to say, and everything's written out for you, and you want to go away. You weren't for eliminating fracking. Oh, no. It was just government lands. And you didn't say anything about Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Oh, now you better say something because you see the poll numbers. It's just despicable. They'll say anything and do anything. We never had time. I was going to ask you that difficult question. Who's the worst mayor in the United States? Portland, boy, that guy. Who'd you vote for, Sean? Portland, Chicago, L.A., New York. Who's the worst? Is that a tough one? Do you have a candidate? Who can you pick? I know, it's not easy. There's so many. I know, it's a hard call. You go with Chicago. Yeah, she's no genius. And she had the police protect her, right? She has police around her house, but she gets that. She's entitled. Let's see. Greg, I think, wants to challenge me at least a little. Greg in Bradenton, Florida, you're on with Mark.
Hi, Mark. How you doing?
Hi, Greg. I'm doing well.
Good. So I've got a question and a comment. The people on the right, and yourself included, are always suggesting that the public schools are absolute cesspools of leftism and socialism and everything. And first of all, I don't believe that.
Wait, do you teach? Are you a teacher?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I thought you would say that. So you don't. Go ahead. I don't want to cut you. Go ahead.
Okay. My question is, why don't more conservatives go into education as a field? That's the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And the second question is, if the public schools are so god-awful, as you people always say they are, why are you so anxious to get the kids back in these horrible, horrible public schools?
Yeah, but first of all, I happen to be pretty good, so I love teaching and they love me. As an example, you asked, I have the highest rating last year as an example of students who kept coming to my class. And I know, and by the way, there are a lot of great teachers. I don't argue that. Why don't more conservatives get into education? Boy, you're going to get mad at me for this one. The brightest people never went into education, at least in my day. If they couldn't do anything else, they often went into education. I didn't major in it, but I got into it and I loved doing it. And you'll see at the college level for sure, if you're a conservative, they're not going to keep you. They're going to kick you out. So we can eliminate that real fast. I know someone here in Los Angeles, as an example, they found out she was conservative at a private high school and they got rid of her. So that's one answer. If they know who you are, if they knew who I was, I don't think my days would be long. So that's a big issue.
Who is they? Who is the they you're talking about?
The administration and all, and the unions. The unions would make sure I didn't have my job anymore, whatever influence they have, and they have a bigger. Go ahead.
Administrators don't belong to the unions. The administrators aren't.
I said administrators. So administrators are on the left too.
What?
Their union is on the left too. Where do you live? You live in Florida. I'm in California. Out here on the left coast, on the west coast, they don't tolerate dissent. If you are, they keep it quiet. Let me tell you. Well, I can tell you so many stories. I was at a district once, and like in Deep Throat, they met me in the parking lot, one teacher, and said, Mark, I honor you and admire you. They know who you are. I know you're not going to last. And I said, who are you? He said, I'm a libertarian. And I said, how do you stay? He said, shh, they don't know who I am. That's what's taking place. So you may live in a different world, I don't know, but that's what I experience. So I keep quiet. And I know fellow teachers like me who think the way I do, there aren't too many, they also keep quiet. That's how they keep their jobs.
Okay, well, I would suggest there's a different reason. And the different reason that I would suggest is long hours, low pay, unrealistic expectations, and conservatives simply can't stomach working that hard.
No, oh, that's really nice. So you use an ad hominem and attack, and you don't even know how hard I work with people like me. But in any case, I don't think it's low pay. I don't think 60, 70, 80,000 and more as they get in Los Angeles is low pay. I'll tell you the problem. The unions and everybody else made it an untenable job in some ways by all the things they believed in, right? Like bilingual education and no standards and no suspensions and no discipline. So you guys in the union and elsewhere, you made it so hard that you made it hard for yourself because you're all in a chorus there. We lost the great learning that we had 20 and 30, maybe 40 years ago. It's not the case anymore. Now you go in there and these kids mostly get indoctrinated. When I talk about minimum wage, I give both sides. They never heard the other side. That where's the money coming from? They think the government has all this money. So low pay? I don't think so. Bad situation? Yes, you created that. 1-8 Prager 776. Mark Eisler filling in for Dennis Prager.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
We know now that the cultural elites, whether it's New York Times or CNN or the folks at Yale and Harvard, have abdicated whatever sense they had of the founders' vision of America, and it's why Donald Trump got elected and by God's grace will be reelected. What is your sense of where we are right now in this country?
We are in crisis, and we are nearing extremists in that crisis. I truly believe the president's right now, his leadership is critical. It will be decisive in terms of the direction that we take, because anything that he does now that is a misstep, and I'm talking about as he makes decisions about the profound issues, the direction of the country, the protection of the American people, it's going to resonate for decades. If we give way to those who in the left wing who would rule by mob, rule by disinformation campaign, we're lost. And the left is doing precisely that now and much, much more. It's easy for everyone to forget we've gone through 4 years of a campaign against this president by our own intelligence agencies to first block his candidacy from in 2015 and 16, and then to block the transition, then to block his taking office, and then to overthrow him. That's what he's gone through for 4.5 years. It's stunning stuff.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
To do it, so I wanted full control to make sure that this book gets out before the election, because this book is it's the Oppo research that the media has refused to do on Joe Biden. The media has decided they want Joe Biden to win. They will not talk about his 50 years of failure. I mean, Hugh, he's been a Washington, D.C. elected official for half a century. I was -8. I was -8, and I'm old as dirt when Joe Biden first took office in D.C. And they're running him like he's an undefined Democrat candidate. And I started looking at this guy, and I couldn't believe how much I found. Things that would be totally disqualifying, things that the media, any reasonable media, would be covering, or if it was Donald Trump doing it, would certainly be covering. It would be global news. I saw it was all missing. So it's literally me taking on the media. So this book isn't just for MAGA fans. This book is for anyone who's on the fence, anyone who's an independent, who hasn't been told the full story. Once you see the level of corruption of Joe Biden, the level of stupidity, the dangers of his health. I interviewed Ronnie Jackson, the White House doctor, who was Obama's White House doctor, for 8 years, talking about the cognitive decline and Joe Biden's brain aneurysms. I mean,
Mark Eisler filling in for Dennis Prager, and the last caller. I mean, that's my other field, teaching. I know it. They voted, the union, not the teachers, voted to defund the police before they want to come back to school. Oh, that's really great. When I bet you he's worried about his safety sometimes. I could tell you stories of students throwing desks down the stairways, slapping teachers in certain schools in Los Angeles. Yeah, defund the police. Who's going to take care of you? I love his, of course, his accusation that conservatives don't like to work hard, right, at their businesses for 70 hours a week or 100 hours. Who knows what it comes down to? That's what it is. They created this mess. And by the way, as Sean pointed out to me, students are afraid to say what they really think if they're conservatives, let alone teachers. You've got to be kidding. Oh, my. Well, that's kind of the union line. I said, and by the way, it's worse than you can imagine in our cities now with George Soros funding. I want to get this out. These district attorneys who don't even want to prosecute people for crimes under a certain amount, now there's one, I forget who it was, who said, let's see if the person who was the looter needed the money in condition. I'm telling you, I don't get the world and where we're going with all this. I apologize to all the callers that I couldn't get in. The polls, I started with this at the beginning. I could do all the polls. Almost all of them had it wrong. So don't get discouraged out there. That's their attempt. I think Trump is coming on strong, and he's going to continue to go in that direction. And I think he's going to win big electorally. I can't tell popular because you got California, you got New York. Can't trust the people in this state, so maybe he won't win the popular vote, but I say a big electoral victory. But you got to come out, because this is not a battle, I want to finish this way, between Trump and Biden. It's a battle between the left and the right, a battle for the soul of America. Do you want to see the United States of America, which was created the first time in history where we didn't need kings or queens or dictators to tell us how to live, that they felt ordinary, average Americans can make those decisions? That's what's on the line this time. And that's why you have to come out. You have to get your friends out. We've got to, the base is strong, but you got to make sure everybody on our side votes, because this is not just to elect Donald Trump, although he's done a absolutely terrific job. I couldn't do the show without my team, and that includes certainly Leslie taking the phone calls, Christian doing the camera. I hope they don't see my long hair in the background. Haven't been to the barber, but I couldn't do the show without them. And of course, Sean is unbelievable. We're kindred souls, and he makes the show happen, just playing off of him and him directing me what makes sense. But I always finish the show the same way. It's a privilege to have a microphone in the greatest country in the history of the world, and we have to keep it that way. Until next time, I'm Mark Eisler.